Well, let's get this over with. Oh, do we have a crash already? Of course not. Still playing as Rebecca. The night wears on without further incident, despite a great number of thoughts swimming inside of my head. Come morning, there's only a hush, a strained sort of stillness, unlike one's greeting me every morn. This one's uneasy, tight with anticipation, like a string stretched thin, merely waiting for a proper time to snap. I can't hear the game audio. It's just not very loud, huh? I'm going to just drop it to 5. I'm going to increase the volume of the game by 5 decibels. Do you hear that? It's quiet. Granted, it doesn't make my day any less pleasant, but the edge is there. As expected, the second I step out of my flat, it comes apart, broken by the voices of 2 squabbling adults echoing from a floor below. The quiet was nice while it lasted. A shame.
What the hell were you thinking?
Oh, wait a minute. I recognize that voice. And on that note, now that the quiet's gone, I think we'll put my volume setting where I had left it.
I wasn't. Ow! Could you let go?
Not a few seconds later, they both ascend the stairs, Ashton pulling Isabella by her wrist. She struggles as she should, but his hold on her remains firm. Freeing herself means having to draw blood as she attempts to pry his hand off her with one or using unnecessary force. What? Neither of which is better than the other. One could potentially end in an accident, while the other means having to hurt him physically. She has a good sense to realize that, at least, however, it doesn't take the desperate edge in her voice when she answers Ashton's temper with her own. So on they go, none the wiser to my presence.
Do you have any idea how much trouble you could get in?
Doing what?
That's why I'm asking you for help.
Is this what you've been doing these past 3 days? Because this doesn't make your case convincing, Isabella.
Rose died, Ash.
I know. Every single person in Luxford knows. It's on the damn news. But that doesn't mean...
People are missing. Some of those are my friends. And BRC's just covering it all up.
Oh, we're finally getting insight into the missing employees. Hey, Matt, how you doing?
You can't just barge into my office and expect me to do anything about it, right off the bat. This isn't a children's game, Isabella. We have procedures. We have to follow protocol. There's red tape all over this case for a reason.
Yeah, because people are literally disappearing by the dozens.
We sure as hell don't investigate things just because some stupid letter spooked us.
Ash, you have to believe me this time. If we don't do anything right now, more people will...
It's been a whole week. This stupid letter prank is getting old real fast. I'm sick of it.
It has not been a whole week. When did we find the letter? "17th. Yeah, the letter was found on the 21st. And we're like, oh wow, it has been a week roughly. If today's the 28th. Yeah, 17th to the 1st. That's the time frame, I guess.
It was funny the first time, not so much now.
For some reason, I thought the time frame of this game was a lot shorter.
You're the only one that can help me with this, Ash. Even Rebecca won't.
Rebecca won't what?
All right, you two are awfully loud.
We're gonna piss off the landlady.
What's going on here?
Both of their heads snap up almost in unison, as a displeased frown is on each of their faces, but this is a necessary interruption. Yeah, it's mostly because the letter is in Isabel's hands, which means it only really comes up when Isabel's around, which when you actually stop to look at like how often she's even present, like let's see, day 17, nothing. Day 18, nothing. Day 21, this is where we first started the game, and we play as Isabel for most of it. So the letter comes up here, and then it also comes up here. And then when we played as Rebecca, it came out here as well. And then the 22nd, the letter comes up. Or actually, the letter doesn't come up there. Oh, we talked to the therapist about the letter, or the historian, or I forget what was he. I should probably read that. Recommended speaking with Professor Andrew Clark tomorrow, respected professor with degree in sociology. So we talked to a sociologist about the letter. And that's spooky shit that Marianne saw. When she went to work, her photocopier started making copies of the letter, which is creepy as all shit. Which reminds me, because the printer in this house is in this room, it's not even hooked up to my computer in any way, but if anyone in the house prints anything, you'll hear my printer just turn on, and it kind of freaks me out sometimes. Pancakes. Pancakes. Where was I? So, no Isabella, but she chose to not bring up the letter here. We thought about the letter here, I believe. She was going through papers at her apartment yesterday. Okay, this was the last thing that we did. Which means we are on today, Friday, October 28th. This is the day of the party, and where people start dying. People still in their units have already taken interest in this commotion, with some of them taking a peek behind the curtains, while others are bold enough to creak open their doors only slightly. Ooh, they fucking arguing out there? This seems like a little bit of a romantic tryst. I think I'll peek out my door and look. That's my impression of somebody who cares. If they don't keep it down, pretty soon our landlady will show up. That is the thing I just mentioned. Getting a reprimand from her is the last thing I want to happen. First thing on a Friday morning, even if it's hardly my fault.
Well, if you want to continue this, you two better do it elsewhere. You're disturbing other people.
I don't think they were disturbing anybody until you started yelling.
Don't worry, we're done here.
No, we aren't! Becca, I looked it up. I called them. I visited some of them, and...
Which you shouldn't have done in the first place.
So people haven't come into work for a few days. You stop by to see if they're okay. That's a normal human thing to do, Ash. This is gonna be good. Whenever I hear someone say this is gonna be good, it makes me think of, I think it was the Fates that said that in the Disney Hercules movie.
Isabella, you're going to create more problems for us with what you're doing. A team has already been assigned to it. Leave it to us.
Your precious team is looking at it the wrong way.
What are the police doing wrong? I would actually like clarification.
Becca, it's not just Rose. There are others.
The last bit strikes a chord, prods strongly at a memory. At the vicious smile already etched deeply inside my mind. The image appears clear enough at that. At the mere mention of it, I stumble on my own question.
What do you mean?
The letter, Rebecca! It's not...
Finally, the letter.
It's nothing. If there's really something going on because of that dumb letter, none of us would be standing here. We've all read it, haven't we? But Rebecca's alive, Zach's alive, I'm alive. So for the last time, this isn't a curse.
But actually, now that I think about it, based on the recording that the kids made, I think they're the ones. I think the help me letter actually isn't important, believe it or not, despite the fact that this game is called The Letter. Because if I remember correctly, when we saw the video of the kids, they found the letter and then they took out like a paintbrush and then they added something to the end of the letter. And I believe what they added was the share this with 5 people thing, which means, yes, the letter is probably cursed, but I bet the sharing it with 5 people is probably completely unrelated. I think that this curse is literally, like the little girl keeps saying, we have to help the girl. And then the curse ends. I mean, the message doesn't get much more clearer. Look at all the help me's on there.
There's a murderer on the loose, and your coworkers happen to be the victims. Give it a rest, Isabella. It's too early for this shit.
So there's a serial killer that is killing off real estate agents? That's your running theory?
Don't you think that's too much for a coincidence?
Yeah, it is a coincidence, Isabella. That's how serial killers work. They usually have an MO, and this serial killer's MO apparently is people that work in real estate or real estate adjacent.
Not so much. Most serial killers follow a pattern. I'll tell you about it some other time.
Or I just told you now.
And anyway, coincidence or not, the point is, civilians like you aren't supposed to get involved. You're putting yourself in danger.
Seriously though, wouldn't it have been too much? I spent 30 seconds explaining how serial killers work? And you couldn't afford that much time, Ash?
I wasn't chasing after.
Will the both of you slow down and stop arguing for a minute? What's this about your coworkers, Belle?
Didn't she see the news report for it?
Becca, please don't tell me now you believe this shit.
Sure, in a heartbeat I'll agree with Ashton. That's how it's always been. Besides, having a very good point, really. They're the very same ones he'll make every time I ask too many questions. But the fact of the matter is, what he wants to hear from me right now is far from what I've been seeing and sensing these past few days. I feel like they're missing a conjunction there. Doesn't matter what Isabella or I believe on our own. Something odd has been happening around me, and the letter she picked up is at the heart of this. Wow, she's actually starting to sound like she believes this. Alrighty. How many save slots do I have left? We've used up over half of our save slots. And look at how many of them are Rebecca. Most of them. Rebecca's mode has been the longest. By far. Ashton in particular won't be too happy to hear it. Boom! Look at that growth. Finally, the more people we get talking about the ghost, the better. Sorry, Ash. I could care less about Becca and her romance with you. I want the plot to move forward. Imagining the look on his face doesn't take too much effort. His entire posture shifts the moment my reluctance shows. Shoulders tensing, brows furrowing, eyes gaining a sharp edge. He's already bracing himself for the disappointment. And it will be a disappointment. Not in a million years did I ever believe I'd be saying this either.
I might have seen her. The woman Belle's been telling us about. The one she said she saw in the attic.
Both of them stare at me like I've grown an extra head. For a few moments, Ashton looks as if he's about to have a fit. A pause treads at his What? A pause treads at it. A pause treads at its heels. That sentence doesn't feel like it reads correctly. A silence thick enough, one can almost hear a pin drop. I feel like that could have been structured a little differently.
You're kidding, right?
Nope. She means it. There was the car accident. There was the incident with... When did that happen? When did we kick, what's his name in the... There! Right around here. Let's just move to the 28th.
Do I look like I'm joking?
Really, Becca? Not funny.
Ash, I'm not lying.
Twice.
Why would I lie about this?
She saw it twice. 3 times if we count the bathroom nonsense.
It's been this way since the film fest. The past few days have been really odd since we read that letter.
Once at the film fest. Again, if we count the locker situation, but she didn't really look at that. Then there was the incident with Luke. And then there was, well, the bathroom incident. Man, why do children have to be so creepy when they sing nursery rhymes?
Or maybe you're all just feeling under the weather.
I'm not sick. Don't you think I'd know that by now?
Becca, you're starting to sound like Scaredy Cat. Give me a break.
Why don't you?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, you two.
When is the landlady going to come break this up? Isabella's voice cuts sharply through the conversation, abruptly putting an end to the brewing argument. Brewing. I don't know why I pronounced it brewing. Brewing. It sounds like Peru. Brewing.
It's all my fault. This is all my fault.
Don't blame yourself. Give me a second. I don't think I could have not picked up the letter. I am not a crook. I don't think I can do a Nixon impression. Because I'd be torn trying to impersonate the real Nixon and also partially trying to impersonate the guy that does it on Futurama.
I was only hoping I could fix this before any of you. I'm sorry for dragging you all into this.
That's okay, Belle. We were all screwed anyway. We would have gotten involved one way or another. She breathes in deep, steadying, and in that moment, something falls behind her eyes as she looks away.
I'll fix this. I promise.
That does not sound promising. A quiet resolve. The same one I saw in her that night 3 days ago. But this time, it burns brighter. Even Ashton wavers at its sight. When she looks him straight in the eyes, gaze unflinching, gradually his grip on her I don't know why I read that as waist. His grip on her wrist loosens.
Belle, there's nothing to fix. The problem is...
Just this once, Ash.
Her voice, though small and lacking any force, stops him. Along with it, every sound, every noise dies around us, a hush descending as if the world is waiting for her words.
You don't have to come with me. But if I don't do anything, I am going to regret it.
She lays a hand atop his. Okay, at least the background music is audible now. Gentle, pleading, almost intimate. If one does not consider the circumstances we found ourselves in.
Please.
It doesn't matter. Intimate is intimate. Doesn't intimate just mean close? Actually, before we move on, I'm going to just double check that. Intimate. Google search. Definition. Closely acquainted, familiar, or close. Yeah. And then second definition is private and personal. Yeah, close. But I don't think the context matters. Intimate is still an appropriate word. Ashton will never tell a soul. Will never admit it, even to himself. But it is in that short second that his own resolve breaks. The moment the hard edge in his eye softens, and he relinquishes his hold on her, letting his hand simply fall limply to his side. Wordlessly, Isabella steps back and runs off, leaving only a muttered thanks and a small, lackluster smile. Only after the last of her footsteps fade away does Ashton move, breaking the silence with one of his sharp exhales before reaching up to pinch the bridge of his nose in a gesture of frustration and surrender.
Did you really have to tell her that?
Music got quiet real quick. Uh-oh.
What do you want to hear from me then? That everything's fine?
No, I want all of you to stop putting these ideas in her head. None of it is helping.
We're not putting ideas in these heads. This shit's actually happening. If anything, I love you, man. I'm all on board with the sound scientific reasoning persona, but supernatural shit is happening, and you are going to be probably the last person to get on board with this.
Never mind. Don't worry about her. I'll bring her back here.
He's already been poised to leave when my own instinct takes over. I reach for him, gripping his elbow with the same unyielding grip, the action prompted by the voices whispering in the back of my mind. He's already made it clear he's not going to believe me, but he deserves a word of caution. Who knows where all this will take us? How all of this will end? He shouldn't be caught off guard, beliefs notwithstanding.
Ash, I know you don't believe in those things she's saying. And you know me. I'm less inclined to believe in those things as you do. But I've seen something. There's something strange going on here. You don't have to buy it. If you don't want to listen to me, fine. But please, try to hear her out. It's bad enough that Isabella goes off like this without telling anyone. I'm just worried something might happen to her if she keeps at it.
You see, one of the reasons she doesn't want to tell anyone is because you guys have all more or less made it clear to her that you wouldn't believe her if she did. This is the problem with horror movie tropes. If you don't create an environment of warm understanding and people that believe you when it counts, she wouldn't feel like she could rush off on her own and do this, because she would then consult the people around her. Which she almost did at first, which I will admit we had an opportunity to when we were playing as Isabella to show the letter to Ash immediately, but we decided not to because I, the player controlling her, thought that Ashton was just going to dig through her stuff and find it anyway, which he did do. But that was not what I had in mind when I did that. Because my thought process is open like a book. Open like a streamer reading a book. Where was I going with this? I don't know, but my mind's an open book. You can figure it out for yourself. Even if I can't.
Talk to her, okay?
As if she trusts me enough for that.
She trusts you. She just knows that you're not going to believe her.
Doesn't the fact that she approached you first about this, instead of me, already say a lot?
She actually went to Zach first, but we're not going to talk about that. A different kind of trust. Granted, implicitly and never spoken, sometimes too big, sometimes too fragile to last. He falls silent for a long moment as it turns over in his mind. In the end, all he manages to offer is a small nod before he departs. A promise to at least listen to her, without teasing her or the jibes. A favor for me, and the least he can do for her. This is as much as I can do for him, as well, till I've understood what's happening myself. But we did not invite him to the party. Oops. And how's he going to show up at the party? Isabella and Ashton arrived at Salem while having an argument about the missing BRC employee's investigation. Annoyed by the noise, Rebecca interfered and at the end asked Ashton to keep an open mind. Thank God for that. Tonight, hopefully, where this all started will provide the answers I'm looking for. The whole thing's off to a bad start, and all of a sudden, whatever Isabella claims, dwelling in this mansion becomes the least of my concerns. Of all the cabbies in Luxburn, I have a chance upon a superstition one. The same superstitious cabbie from the start of this? Still not as bad as finding out your car's starter refuses to crank on when it was still working in the morning. But it's equally frustrating when you're forced to walk the rest of the way. All because the driver got spooked. Isabella and him would get along so well, I'm willing to bet it's the same driver Isabella got. Way back at the start of this playthrough. I do get his reasons, after all. I've had my fair taste of bizarre lately. All of which might have been brought upon by that letter Isabella found here. But you'd think he'd at least be charitable enough to take me a little closer to the house itself. Not a distance 15 minutes away by foot. Wow, what an asshole. That is extremely superstitious. Good thing I'm not wearing anything formal or constricting. Otherwise, that short walk would have likely put me in a bad mood long before I have to suffer in a room full of strangers tonight. Although this soon proves to be a problem. The second the driveway comes into view, and I near the entrance. Severely underdressed and total understatement of how I look. Cars worth more than my own apartment and childhood home combined line the mansion's front yard. Men and women decked out in their best also flock near the entrance. Most are eager for the festivities to start, while some are simply idling about, enjoying the warm afternoon sun before it sets. I don't get why people like having parties at night. I would much rather have parties like starting in the midday, because I feel like my personal preference for a party is I feel like it should happen sometime between 11 a.m. and like 5 p.m. Like midday to right when the sun starts going down. That way people can go home, get a nice rest. I feel like that's the opportune time to have a party. Just before noon. Presumably, Mrs. Wright, from the confident manner she holds herself among the present company. This despite keeping a far simpler appearance than the rest of her own guests, or not having her husband beside her. A trait worthy of utmost admiration at best. At worst, she's the envy of every woman, the subject of every gossip in Luxburn.
Welcome everyone.
Yeah, 11 to 5. That's my ideal party time. If you want a really long party, you can run it from like 11 to 6 or 11 to 7. It's like 7-Eleven, but backwards. And Mum said we could have been good friends. I can't even picture myself mingling with the kind of guests she has. Though I admit she does seem familiar now that I've seen her up this close. Memories of sitting in a vanity not mine, being dressed in clothes too fancy for my tastes. They flit briefly in my mind until her cheerful tone rises above that buzz of her enraptured audience again.
Please, make yourselves at home.
I wish I can share her enthusiasm, really. But being surrounded by all this extravagance, for lack of a better term, no, that is the correct term, merely makes me dread how the rest of the night might go. I shouldn't have let Luke's words affect me like that. I should have just gone ahead and asked Ashton like I've planned. If he were here, then I won't have to.
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
The rest of that thought dies in my mind at once. As we already knew, Ashton was here, but we never figured out how he ended up getting invited to this. My guess is as a attaché to the police officer or commissioner, or he just snuck in. A moment of astonishment overcomes me, before confusion sets in seconds later. It takes another for my body to catch up. Once it does, I finally turn to see for myself. It's his familiar mop of hair that catches my eyes first. There he is, almost at arm's reach if it isn't for the guest standing in between us. Ashton Frey, standing in the Ermengarde mansion's driveway, with an air too lackadaisical. For someone who absolutely abhors parties of any form. Or has any business here, as far as I know. He does have business here. Oh, I just threw up in my mouth a little. Speaking of throwing up in my mouth a little, that reminds me. I have pie waiting for me in the fridge. And it's not pumpkin pie, ironically, considering the time of this recording. Remind me at midnight to give a little hooray, it's Thanksgiving when we get to that point. The picture it forms is too bizarre for me that my mouth speaks out ahead of my coherent thought.
Ashton?
He swivels on his heel in an equally puzzled face. An odd expression flashes momentarily across it once he sees me, though he blinks at it and blinks it away before he can figure out what out it is.
Becca, what are you doing here?
At words, fumbling over words. She should be asking you that.
I was invited.
Really? I had no idea you were friends with the host.
Well, it's my parents, actually. But that's beside the point. What are you doing here? You hate parties.
I still do. I'm just here on behalf of a friend.
That in itself is weird coming from him. It doesn't help that he's even making an effort to spare a glance my way when he answers. Instead, they're focused on at some point in the crowd, his gaze darting between people walking past until a small frown forms on his face.
That's rare. Do you have someone with you then?
Nope, just me. I won't be staying long.
Actually, we still haven't ran into Zach. Zach's supposed to be at this party, right? Because we skipped over the party in his playthrough, which is one of the reasons why his playthrough felt a little shorter.
Oh, well, if that's the case, maybe you and I can...
Chief?
Ashton, what's...
Unexpectedly, he places a hand on my shoulder, stopping me mid-sentence. He still has the distracted look on him, except this time his eyes are sharper, as if he found what or who he's been searching for among the throng of partygoers. Is that the correct use of throng?
Sorry, Becca. I need to... There's something I need to check for a bit. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, my boss is here. Give me a sec.
Do you have a ride home?
Nope.
No, I had to take a cab here. My car wouldn't start this afternoon.
Oh, I thought she was just using that as an analogy earlier. Her car literally wouldn't start.
But what about...
I told you to get that old thing checked before, didn't I? You can head back with me after this. Anyway, I gotta go. See ya. Be careful, okay?
I meet the smile he hastily throws my way with a frown of my own. What does he mean by that? But before I can ask, already he has turned his back from me and is walking away without a single explanation whatsoever. Actually, you know what this Ermengarde mansion needs? And this will probably solve all the ghost problems. To quote Internet Historian, all we gotta do is add like a nice 5G tower right here, and like right here, and maybe another one right here. That'll get rid of the ghosts. Just get rid of that lack of phone signal here. Solves everything. Because you know what scares away ghosts? Having access to cell phones. Yeah, ghosts don't like to F with people that can call for help. In some desperate effort, I catch up to him, if only to know what warranted this sudden departure, and his odd warning at the end.
Hey, be careful! About what exact...
Only for my attempts to be interrupted by a muffled ringing in my pocket. Mom's cheerful voice greets me as soon as I answer.
Yes, I'm at the party already, Mom. Yes, I'll say hi to her if I can.
Yeah, that'll get him. The conversation itself doesn't last long. Just a simple hello and a reminder to enjoy the party, and to send her regards to the old student. But when the call ends, I get to look up at Ashton's already nowhere in sight. With a sigh, and admittedly a little disappointment, I tuck my mobile back into my pocket and head inside. Even with familiar company, however, coincidental this meeting is, and this is somehow shaping up to be a terrible evening. Oh boy, wait until we get to the highlight of the evening. Yeah! The party hits full swing an hour later. With the host's opening remarks given, still no sign of her husband, poor woman, and the guests promptly fed. The band shifts the melody into a livelier tune. Oh, that's right. She still hasn't figured out that her husband is Luke. Oh, I'm looking forward to this. Soon laughter and rhythmic tapping of shoes fill the room, all in accordance to the lifting strains of the music. I just realized that I can actually turn the volume down in my ear, and it actually doesn't make it any louder for you guys or quieter for you guys when I do. And the more you know. It seems fun, I admit. Is my mic a little bit too loud? I think I'm peaking. I'm gonna reduce my mic by a little bit just to see if that helps. Fascinating, at certain moments, the flurry of dancers making the music their own, with almost no care in the world. If I weren't so indisposed, I'd have joined the crowd in a song or two. There isn't a lack of invitations anyway. Plenty of them, in fact, with some asking more than once. Oh, isn't she the popular guest this? Oh, that's right. When we were playing as Hana at this scene, several people were asking her to dance, and she just ignored them all. Real belle of the ball, this one. Oh wait, sorry, Bella's not here. It's only my stubborn refusal that prevents me from joining them. And I can. A single nod is all it'll take, and the evening would have been far enjoyable for me. Far more enjoyable, you mean? But pride, my own silly hopes, the thought of being seen with one of them by him curbs that. As much as I hate to admit it, because doing so also means outright acknowledging the douche's claims. That he has to be the one to tell me that still sends my blood boiling. I would have preferred someone more agreeable, less of an arse. It's a hard truth to swallow, especially when every person at the center of it makes the denial difficult. Can't even spare me a minute of his attention, or a single glance at me the whole evening. Hell, Zachary might have spoken more words to me. Big guy's busy covering the event to boot. But at least he manages to slip in a conversation or two between takes, or a small wave of his hand when he passes by. Now that's a guy that wanted to ask you to dance. What's Ashton's excuse? He's been flitting in and out of sight the whole time. One moment he's hanging around a small group, and another he's hovering around a string band. I think he's trying to avoid his boss, if I had to guess. Just a second ago, he's wolfing down some deviled eggs by the buffet table, glass of wine in hand. The next thing I know, he's gone. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he doesn't want to be with any of his friends. Is it because his boss is here? What's the big deal about that? He's never bothered him before. I don't think he wants his boss to know he's here. I think he's here against orders. Off the books.
I swear, the next person who asks, I'm dancing the night away with. Ashton can go fuck himself.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
And now we get to see the other side of this. Her voice almost makes me jump, too focused on the gobshite wandering around the ballroom and my own annoyance to notice. If she's heard any of the profanities I've mumbled, or she's taken notice of my discomfiture. That's a word? She makes no comment on it, merely greeting me with a smile when I turn my attention to her. Miss Hannah Wright gives off a whole different air when she's not speaking to an audience. Homely, a bit too friendly for my liking. But I guess that comes from being raised in such an environment and having to deal with pompous, snooty people. Though I suppose nothing has really changed from years ago. I remember her carrying herself in the same manner during that one and only visit. Does she remember any of it? I won't be surprised if she doesn't. It has taken me a while myself. She's probably met a lot of people like little Becky throughout the years. Might have already forgotten about me or my parents. People like her thrive on connections, after all. Nevertheless, I return her smile, awkward and stiff as it may be.
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
You did know. There's no reason why you didn't.
Oh, you're fine, dearie. It's only really the parvenus, those who climb, that come to these parties all dolled up.
Yeah, I'll wear a button-up shirt. That's as much as you're going to get from me on one of these occasions. If I'm feeling fancy, I'll wear a suit.
Quite the black-haired beauty, isn't he?
Takes me a while to realize who she's talking about. Till Ashton walks by again in closer proximity than any of the other times he's done so far this evening. Still without a look of acknowledgement our way, though, even if Mrs. Wright speaks loud enough to catch the attention of anyone within earshot.
Who, Ash?
You know, you really shouldn't have turned down those offers. If I wasn't married, I'd happily go dancing with those young men. But you said a name. Ash. That's the exquisite lad you've been looking at all this time. I don't know him, and I'm the one hosting this party. That must mean you know each other. Is he your boyfriend, then? Because that would explain those rejections.
This isn't the first time someone has made that assumption. Almost every student I've ever had in the past did. My coworkers, more often than not, assume he is. A few of my neighbors also think that we're an item. Not that Ashton has ever reacted to those. He's been quite different about that, in fact. Still, the heat of a blush creeps up my cheeks, a denial ready, despite wanting it to happen so badly myself.
What? No, that's ridiculous. He isn't my boyfriend.
You just want him to be.
Such a violent reaction. A simple no would have sufficed.
Hey, I missed these. I kind of forget that these sprites exist sometimes, because they just sometimes will go so long without using them.
Many here would be happy to hear it.
And I haven't been looking at him.
Yes, you have. I do my best to summon a straight face, but before her good cheer, it easily falters.
That's right. You've been staring. Quite heatedly, in fact.
Yep.
Although I'm not sure if you look like you want to kiss him or kill him.
Little column A, little column B. One of my favorite quotes.
It's more the latter, currently.
Just don't go murdering him on my property.
That has new context now that I think about it. That could actually happen. And I hope it doesn't.
I don't want to walk into a room and suddenly find a body there.
Oh no. Oh no. I just realized that's something that could happen too. And we've heard this dialogue before too. It's infectious in a way. No sooner I find myself enjoying our chat more than I've imagined myself to. Although her attention briefly wavers at one point, she remains a good companion. Even more once I've mentioned who my parents are, her face quickly lights up, and fondness graces her face, despite the meeting from several years ago being a short one. But of course, there are some things we really can't avoid talking about. After all, it's one of those few things I remember her asking me. The moment she spotted little Becky in the room. Do you have a boyfriend? In retrospect, it's an odd thing to talk about as children. There are loads we could have started with. When did I start thinking about relationships? The concepts of boyfriend and girlfriend? Honestly, a lot of that stuff didn't really cross my mind at all until I was like way into my late teens. I kind of avoided relationships through most of high school, so the earliest that I could remember considering trying to get a girlfriend was probably halfway into my junior year of high school. Probably even later than that. I've had my fair share of people that were interested in the subject, and I've even been asked out several times. But that's a topic I don't really want to get into here.
Yes, oh, I remember you! You were the cutest little thing with glasses!
I do think she would look better with glasses.
And when we met, you were having boy troubles with this lad called something with an A.
I believe I still have the clothes she gave me. Chosen all so I could impress him. And even back then, Ashton always had been denser than a rock. And that one attempt to get him in to notice backfired spectacularly. Sure, he's keen. He's a detective, for heaven's sake. But feelings are more often than not what escapes him.
What was it again? Aaron, Alan, Adele, Albert, Alexander, Andrew?
Which makes this whole talk all the more embarrassing. And the more names she lists off, the more my discomfort grows until my smile turns into a grimace. What will she think of me? Here she is, married, to a man she most probably loves at that. While I'm stuck in the same place, yearning for the same person.
Ashton! Ash! That man is that boy! The same one. Oh, goodness me, after all these years! I can see why, though. He's quite dashing.
You don't really need to announce it to everyone within earshot, you know? Keep it down.
No, speak up. I think it's time for a ding 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 ding. Everybody!
I'm so sorry, but it really is cute.
It is. It's adorable. She says that, but for a short moment, a hint of pity flickers in her eyes. I take that as a chance to change the subject before anything more can be said over the matter. I haven't even figured out how I should feel about the things Luke told me. Now I'm getting dragged into a similar discussion.
So, this is a nice party, Miss Wright.
Really? That's the subject you chose to change it to? Though to be frank, I doubt she'll be willing to pass this up. The topic has already captured her attention.
Please, Hannah's fine. We're friends of a sort, aren't we? We must be friends, seeing as I know about your little infatuation, Becky. Don't you worry, dearie. You'll have your happy ending yet.
I like how she calls her Becky, and no one else does. Those are the kind of personal connections that you really know when a person really cares about you. That's why so many of my friends call me Dan. That's also why I recently changed my YouTube channel's handle to Dan. Not just for branding reasons, but Dan Sheets is a little bit easier to type into a Google search bar than number one cheapskate with a number one as in the numeral one.
I'm not too concerned about that, am I? That's not what I'm looking for.
Oh? And what makes you think that? Doesn't everybody want their happy ending?
That being said, it still has one cheapskate in the HTML line, if I remember correctly. One cheapskate 929. Now you're just combining some of my old usernames.
The idea of happy endings sounds like they're just for fairy tales. And they are, sorta. I don't think you can just sit around, trapped in some tower and hope for the best. If you love them, you have to fight for it, right? You're not just going to sit there and hope that everything will just fix itself on its own. Like everything, you have to work at it.
Hypocrisy. That's what this is. How dare I preach about something when it's exactly what I've been doing? And then, go and act as if I'm entitled to any of it. That by virtue of us growing up together, he must return whatever I feel for him. That he's not allowed to look at another, as I am the one who has stayed by his side the longest. Yeah. I know that you went by main menu 558 for a long time, but I know you've also told me several times, but I don't remember if the 558 had any significance, because I know it's not like your birthday or anything. When in the first place, Ashton has always been his own person. This is something I cannot force on him. I can only hold on to these, take care of it, until the time comes I can confess it to him. Great. If he reciprocates, but if he can't, if he won't, selfish, been too selfish. How laughable that Luke's words still strike true up until now.
But what do I know?
Oh, main menu 55 or main menu all the way through main menu 557 was taken. Got it. That makes sense.
I'm sure the daughter of the two greatest professors I've ever known is smart enough to know what she's talking about.
At one point, maybe, I would have easily agreed to that. However, the past weeks have also seen changes the way I view things. I mean, it could be a more boring origin story. The origin story of my name is also RuneScape related. One cheapskate was the RuneScape name that I came up with because it was a way to communicate to players that I wasn't going to give them free stuff. Because so many people in RuneScape just beg for free stuff. It is sobering, and almost funny how things I might have said with much uncertainty before now has doubts muddying each of them. Here comes the highlight of the evening. But there will be time to mull about these later, because when a hush suddenly descends in the room, a whole different issue rears. Especially when fucking Luke, strides into the now quiet ballroom, fashionably late and oozing with the same pompous mien he always carries around with him.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party? I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the right mansion.
Before long, Hana leaves my side to join him, and it doesn't take a genius to piece it all together.
Welcome, one and all, to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are all ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness.
I would not.
So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses, as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone!
His attitude, the manner he carries himself around people, his unfamiliarity with that part of the city. Of fucking course. I should have known. Although I'm partly at fault here, tabloids and gossip columns have never really been my thing. I should have also expected that wherever Luke fucking Wright is, some sort of drama would sure follow. He seems to be the kind of person who revels in it. It figures it'll find him on its own, even when he's not asking for it. Oh, here we go, we get back to this. I happened to miss the round of the applause at Hoots. That people lagging behind the crowd as they gathered does not catch on, until the cheers turn into several scandalized gasps.
I am pregnant with your little bastard. You promised me you'll take responsibility.
I wonder if we're actually going to get that scene when we actually play as Luke, and I wonder if that actually ties into it.
God damn it, Luke. I finally got you to talk to me after months of silence, and you do this to me.
What do you mean you're pregnant with?
And she's drunk, too.
Luke, is this true?
Lies and slander, woman! Security! Johans, take her out of here before she makes an even bigger fool of herself!
No, you do not do this to me. I was so ready to leave my stupid oaf of a husband. I told you to leave that damn wife of yours. Look at her. Does she look like she wants a baby?
Yes, she does. Not in this instant.
Does she look like she could take care of a baby?
The commotion doesn't go further, despite the drunk woman appearing like she has plenty more venom to spill. In a little while, security shows up, escorting her out. Apparently, she's the chief inspector's wife, too. As if this whole thing can't get any more fucked up than it already is. What a mess. But the damage has been done, and beyond the repercussions this will bring, I'm more worried about Hana. Maybe Luke too, in part. I've seen the man that hides behind his self-importance, and it is someone who cares for the person who stands beside him. No matter how questionable that is now. We've actually gotten a lot of insight into his character, as I mentioned in the last stream, so the more we got to get into his character, the less likely I feel like I'm sure the sleeping thing happened. I'm sure it did. But I'm becoming less and less sure the more we learn about him. After all, no anger is worse than that of a scorned woman. And Hana, well, as refined and well-mannered she is in front of her guests, I'm not sure she'll be too willing to tolerate this. Her party, her home, her husband, and that woman has just dared walk over it. It's in her eyes when she turns to her, the face of someone who demands she be given the same respect that she has long deserved.
You are no longer welcome in any of our estates, our properties, and our businesses. And we will no longer patronize yours. Now, escort the girl and make sure she isn't standing even an inch within our grounds.
Hana's outrage is a strange sight to witness, after those smiles and grace she has carried herself through the entirety of the party. Like this, her eyes burning bright with fury. I don't doubt that she can do much more, ruin the scandalous woman, if need be. Shaming her is already an act of mercy, generous enough coming from her.
You won't show your face to me ever again if you know what is good for you, Rochelle.
The worst part about this is that Rochelle was built up as being one of Hana's best friends.
Take her away.
That's, I think, the biggest takeaway here. No one protests. Not even the subject of her ire is forcibly as the subject of her ire is forcibly dragged out. Even the smile on Luke's face wavers when she eventually turns to him and pulls him out of the room for a talk of their own. For a brief moment, there's a concerted effort between those left in the hall, a short second of tense silence while they struggle to figure out what to do with themselves. But true to the kind of talk these situations attract, it doesn't last too long. Soon chatter explodes throughout the whole ballroom. Is there no decency among the rich? Worried murmurs, clicking tongues, and appropriate gossip filters through the thick tension in the room. Most of them haven't even left the premises and they are already talking about it. Tomorrow it'll be on the news for sure. even in local broadcast sheet, tabloid, and Luxburn. I couldn't care less about any of it. Simply thinking about this already gives me a headache. When the shock has faded, I feel bone tired. I'll be right back. I set a water bottle down. Ah, there it is. Wrong pipe. Oh. I have accomplished nothing of what I've come here for, and apparently Ashton has disappeared sometimes during the commotion. I'm not sure what pisses me off more. That he ignored me the whole evening, and might have just left without saying anything, or that knowing he obviously has some other motive for being here. Well, that's obvious. Can't he at least trust his own friends for that? I don't think he would have left without you. He already said he was going to be giving you a ride home. Which means he's probably doing something, and when he's done with that, he'll leave. And probably contact you. Can't he at least trust his own
He
friends?
didn't have to hide it from me.
The only relief to be had in this, perhaps, is Zachary's comforting smile when he approaches. He appears as disturbed when he stands beside me, fiddling with the buttons on his camera even though the device is off.
Eventful night, huh?
You can say that again. It was awful.
Zachary, I missed you, man. We haven't talked to you in a while. He pauses for a moment, stares at me intently, and he laughs. A tired one, but filled with humor in spite of what we've witnessed.
Let me guess. Ashton.
Oh, what makes you think he's my problem?
'Cause he is.
Just a hunch. And, it's all in your face, actually.
Why does he have to? I don't understand that man anymore.
Like I always say, you should just...
Oh, you can bet your ass we're going to have a very long talk. I'm not letting him off easy this time.
I don't really honestly think he's done anything wrong, to be honest. Originally, I was going to take her side in this argument, but then because of some of the choices we made as Becca, he is not here as Rebecca's date. Because initially, my first impression was he was here as her date, and then just blew her off. But no, he's actually here doing something sneaky on his own. So, sorry, Rebecca, but I'm on Ashton's side on this one.
I'm sure he has a good reason.
Yes, Zach, I'm sure he does. I'm also sure it's Isabella adjacent.
You won't say it, but he likes being around us. Heck, we're probably the only people he likes. He ain't gonna ruin that for something stupid. He can be dense, but he ain't dumb.
That's exactly what I've been telling people, isn't
We'll
it?
see about that. I just want to go home. Are you done here?
Nah, sorry. I can't until the party ends.
It's all right. I'll just take a cab or something. I'll see you later, Zachary.
Before removing myself from the room, I lay a comforting hand on his arm. You'll need it amongst these people. And then I am gone, more than ready to end the disastrous night as early as possible. As it turns out, the night isn't done with me yet, because no sooner has the porter closed the door behind me, I find myself standing alone in the foyer with one Luke Wright. No sign of his wife, just him and the agitated clicks his shoes make while he treads around the empty room. Well, this is an unexpected surprise. Surprisingly, my favorite parts of Becca's story scenario so far have been her interactions with Luke Wright, so this is a bonus. I was hoping we'd get some interaction with him in the party before, the thing happened. But this is a nice consolation. Away from the media's prying eyes and their guests' judging stares, it's easy to glean how much this scandal has him shaken. Not to the point where he has utterly lost his composure, he appears to have mastered himself enough not to. But an ample opening is there for a nervous edge to show on the lines on his shoulders.
What do you know?
The man is not as tough as he makes himself out to be. Sure, I've seen this before, briefly, in that 1 second in the hallway at school. It's a strange matter, however, to witness this out in the open. Behind closed doors, this is the real Luke Wright. Though maybe that's because he hasn't noticed my presence yet, busy as he is with his thinking. If he's aware, I doubt he'll be acting like this. His pride is one thing he will always wear with him. Even now, when I place a gentle hand on his shoulders, and he whirls around to face me, there's a second long moment of anger flashing across his features before it dissolves into confusion. He tucks it away as quickly as he can, but it does nothing to change the impression I've built of the man in my head.
Daisy, must you be everywhere?
There's Mr. Smug.
We've only met 3 times, Luke. Quit the dramatics. Besides, shouldn't you be aware of who gets invited to your party?
If I was, there wouldn't be any of that scene tonight.
Yeah, he doesn't like her.
That munter wouldn't even get an inch within this property. I'd ban her off Luxport if I could.
He probably pawns off everything to their servants in Hana. Pompous elitist douche.
Did you just come out here to lecture me about it? Because, Daisy, I've had enough of it for one night. I don't need to hear another one.
You are a very unpleasant man.
So I've been told. Will that be all? If so, I suggest you go back and join every bloody goss in that room.
Not everything. As unpleasant and frustrating talking with this man is, he deserves the benefit of the doubt at least. That's what I keep saying. The questions and criticisms aren't lacking, of course.
You know, brooding over here isn't going to fix this mess.
Again with the lecture.
Will you stop calling it that?
That's what it is, isn't it?
Very well, what should we call this then? A heart-to-heart? Please don't, I might puke. And just so you know, I don't want to talk about feelings. Ever.
I do. And they're fantastic.
This isn't one, all right? It's just a friendly concern. Bloody hell, can't you just take it for what it is?
He pauses at that. Suddenly, he doesn't know what to do with his hands. I don't know what to do with my hands either, so I'm just going to put one on the mouse, and then the other is going to grab this drink and hit my mic. And then readjust my mic. And then lower my mic. Maybe put it at mouth level. Use my webcam as a reference. There we go. I think that's good. Then we're going to tilt it and face it and angle it. And then we're going to look back at the game and continue to play the game. He simply stuffs them back in his pockets and sulks. There probably aren't many people who tell him that. He's a difficult man to get along with after all. And then I'm going to drink. Oh, I forgot to say I was going to gargle. I had water in my mouth. Yes, I drink the water that the ice melts to at the bottom of my soda. I honestly won't give him a second of my time if I didn't see a different side to him. Dealing with him requires more than patience. When the awkwardness passes, mostly coming from him, he merely glances away. But the tightness in his shoulders has eased, and when he speaks again, despite his rather rude choice of words, none of it has any venom.
Friendly concern, right. While we're at it, I should mention that Hana used to call that Viper friend. Now I think she might want to strangle the Munta if she sees her again. After she's done with me, of course.
I doubt she's going to do anything like that.
I forget. Does she reveal the pregnancy now or later?
What do you even know about this?
Oh, I know enough. You may look like a sleazy douche, and you still are, by the way.
It's almost comical how fast his face shifts from a mild disdain to offended, but I don't let it distract me. These things need to be said, and he needs to hear them, even though they're coming from some meddling stranger.
But you have your few good moments. I might even say that you're a decent person, if I'm in the mood. Now go. If you really love her, you've got to try and fix this yourself.
Maybe tomorrow.
Luke!
Maybe tomorrow.
Daisy, did you see her earlier? Was that the face of a wife who wants to have a chat with her cheating husband?
No, but you should try anyway.
Well, at least you admitted you did something wrong. Good for you. How about a star? Would you like a star to go with that good deed?
Don't patronize me.
Don't get used to it. Do you realize how awkward this is?
Oh, I do.
I find it funny, and that's why I'm enjoying this so much. Before I've even thought about what to say, I've known there can only be two ways this can go. All things considered, it isn't as bad as I've assumed. However, there are still some things my brand of encouragement can't fix. His marital problems, first and foremost, his attitude follows right after. Concerns aside, I can't help with those. Those are things only he can fix, and it's definitely not by standing around here bantering. Ooh. Oh, that's my dinner. That's my dinner coming up.
Don't worry, I was just about to leave. Feel free to continue with your brooding once I'm gone. I'm not going to tell anyone. Cross my heart.
You think this is funny, Daisy?
Very much so, yes. Laughter is the only response I give him. Achievement get. TLDR. Stop sulking. With a slight wave of my hand, I end it right there and walk away. Although I can't resist the urge to glance back before I leave, if only to have one last look at the man as he really is. But the instant I turn my gaze on him, I see it. Looming over his shoulders, drawn to him like a moth to a flame. I sometimes forget this is a horror novel. Like the first time I've stepped inside this place in search of Isabella. He was there too, wasn't he? That man, along with his wife and another person, Miss McCulloch? And that shadow. No. A woman now. Her no longer a dark blur. Terror rushes through every vein in my body. A crippling sensation, gripping at every part of me, while she stares at me with a glare filled with nothing but hate and venom. It's like staring at the eyes of a woman I've unknowingly robbed of something precious. I try to say something, a warning, but before I can gather my wits and voice it out, someone shuts the door behind me, as if to keep outsiders away from the secrets the mansions possess. Okay, we're going to pretend we saw nothing. The brush of fresh air against my cheeks does little to dampen the chill in my bones. By now, the sensation, the fear, the disquiet, it leaves whenever I see her. That is weird. That sentence structure is weird. It is familiar enough for me. Already, it has made a home in my nerves. Hey, we finally have something after that page. As she was about to leave the party, Rebecca caught sight of sulking Luke She reminded him that brooding wouldn't fix anything and that he should be with his wife instead. Before leaving the embarrassed man, Becca caught a glimpse of a shadow standing behind him. I don't even notice my trembling hands until I cross my arms across my chest. The cold from the tips of my fingers seeps through the thick material of my shirt. Neither of it helps bring together some semblance of coherent thought in my head. But I know I should.
Someone has to tell that douche.
That someone probably should be you. I start walking back before fear can cripple me again. It's not wise. We're turning that in, especially after what happened. But Hana's still an old friend, and Luke doesn't deserve whatever misfortune that letter might bring. I can't just leave those two in there. Isabella's right. She's real, and there's something she wants from everyone. From everyone who has read that.
Becca, where'd you go off to?
If you're done here, let's go. I'll get you back to the city.
My mistake, the second his voice cuts through the crisp night air, is all that I've allowed my annoyance to get the better of me. Fuming, purpose forgotten, I whirl around and march towards him. One accusation after another piles up on the tip of my tongue, ready to be hurled at any moment. There's no hesitation holding me back when I fling at him. That straight face he keeps as I do so doesn't help temper my anger either. It only makes me want to slap someone more. It only makes me want to slap some more sense into him.
Shouldn't I be the one asking you that?
Becca, I've been waiting here the whole time. I told you I hate parties like...
And before that, where have you been the entire evening?
Right then and there, I might have forgiven him if he'd shown some ounce of remorse for leaving me like that. Maybe he could have looked away, given me a sign that my assumptions might be right. He doesn't even need to put them into words. A single gesture of confirmation is all I need. Rather, what I get is the same impassive look. He does that whenever he can't disclose anything. He does that whenever he's lying. In the face of it, amidst the thick tension, a frustrated huff is the only thing I can
Be
summon.
that way. Fine. Suit yourself.
No more words. After everything I've seen and heard tonight, I'm already too exhausted for those. So without speaking any further, I simply walk past him and stomp over his car. Although before I can pull open the door, he calls out, one hand outstretched, a gentle weight on my shoulders.
Wait, Becca.
He pauses, his brows furrowing, lips curving into a slight frown. I can almost see the gears turning in his head while he tries to piece together everything he wants to say. Before, perhaps, I might have waited patiently for those. He's not a man fond of using words to express himself. More often than not, any gesture of honesty will only come out blunt and coarse when forced. But today, for one reason or another, I simply can't summon that forbearance.
Ashton, if you're just going to waste my time again...
Becca, listen. I don't know how else...
That much is obvious. Why don't you just take the whole bloody night? Go on. I can wait until next year. Better yet, why don't you just keep it all to yourself like you always do? It's not like...
Rebecca, will you hear me out first?
Yes, please, Rebecca. You're interrupting him, and it's getting annoying. The silence I can offer him, but whether I'll believe what he's about to say is still up for debate. A very long debate.
I honestly don't know how else to put this. I'm aware your parents have some kind of history with Hana Wright, and somehow you're friends with her. But you should stay away from these people for now, especially the husband.
Who? Luke?
His expression deepens into a scowl at my mention of the name. But whatever opinion he has, he doesn't immediately voice. Still, something about it has greatly displeased him, evident in the stiff note and tone he assumes.
Yeah, he's bad news.
Yeah, he's cursed by a ghost. Man, Becca gets all the choices.
Care to explain your reasons?
I have not meant for it to sound as harsh as it does, but anger and frustration have never been a good match in me, particularly in nights like this. It's not surprising when Ashton jerks back as if I've struck him. For a fleeting moment, something akin to hurt darts across his features, his eyes narrowing and his hands closing in tightly to a fist at his sides. Then swiftly he glances away and shifts his focus on the line of trees nearby, like an answer can be gleaned from the dark expanse.
I'm really sorry, Becca.
What is it for? Are you sad because Marianne's locked in a murder dungeon in the basement? Because that's why I'm sad. For the party? The vague answers he continues to give. Does it include all those times before this? The years worth of it? I don't doubt its sincerity. However, at the moment, the forgiveness he's asking isn't something I'm too willing to hand, furious as I am. It's frankly a wonder how I can keep myself from raising my voice
We'll
again.
talk about this tomorrow. And you better have a proper answer for me by then.
There's a brief hesitation before I step away. A short moment of wanting to say more. Of waiting if he has anything to add. He's only silent, eyes still trained at the distance. It is the last glimpse I see of him before I climb inside his car. The door slams close with the same force of anger as I'm holding. Its sound merely vanishes into the night unnoticed. Sorry, Marianne. Becca found Ashton waiting for her upon exiting the mansion. Irked because he was nowhere to be found during the entire party, she demanded to know what was going on. When he couldn't give her an answer, Rebecca warned that they would talk about it some other time. He follows soon after, and shortly we're on our way back to the city. And even when the city's bright lights welcoming us, the dense, somber air from the mansion still lingers. The moon is almost at its highest by the time we reach Salemwell. Even after our respective heads have cooled off, the atmosphere within the car remains rife with unspoken tension. Unfortunately, it's not sexual tension. It's just unspoken tension. This isn't a problem so easily fixed with a few handshakes. Quite frankly, I don't know what will. Ashton himself has no idea what to do when he alights and dawdles awkwardly in the middle of a in the middle of a car park, unsure. It almost seems like he's having an internal debate, whether he should say goodbye or mutter another apology. Could have driven him away, purely out of spite, the second I've gotten off. Still, old habits die hard. It's late, and Ashton's flat is on the other side of the city. Irritation might rear its head every time I look at him right now, but I'm not too cruel to put him up on another long drive. Especially when he still appears as if he hasn't gotten any rest.
You can borrow the couch.
I throw the keys to my flat his way before a protest forms on his lips. Although he catches it with ease, he eyes at it with a wary expression and shoots a puzzled glance my way.
You haven't been forgiven. We're still going to have that talk, believe me.
I'm surprised that this is happening. It's a very forward move, Rebecca.
But I'm not about to send you out on another drive looking like that. It's late. Go get some rest.
We're setting aside a lot of loose ends like this, but he appears to have accepted that reason, at least in the meantime. He does give me another questioning glance when I shove past him, pulling my mobile in the process.
Where are you going? I thought...
You go ahead upstairs. I need to contact Professor Andrew.
Andrew? Why would you... Oh, no. Please. Is this that thing Isabella said this morning? Again? I already gave her my word, Becca. I'll look into this BRC crap. No need to drag the old guy into it.
Of course, he's still skeptical. Makes one wonder if he's even seeing anything at all. Figures this curse will stay away from the scoffer. But this is another loose end tonight that I can't leave alone, Ashton's beliefs notwithstanding. Did I say beliefs or beliefs? I'm not sure anymore. Moving the mic a little closer to me, moving it further away. Moving the mic a little closer to me, moving it further away. I have no clue why I'm doing this. It just struck me in the moment. Now I'm going to turn my head over here and resume reading the light novel / visual novel. It just so happens that it's one I can delve into using means other than looking at the mansion
Ashton,
itself.
do you really think I still give a shite after that stunt you pulled tonight?
No, but this is...
I've spent so many years with him to know that what this is about to turn into. Another argument. Before he could finish it, I cut him off with a firm raise of my hand.
Look, I don't care. There are weird things happening around here. And yes, it's Isabella's brand of weird. Ghostly voices, strange sounds, and a bloody woman sitting at the back of my car. You don't have to believe me. And I no longer have the patience to convince you, so just leave me be, Ashton.
You know what's going to be the really sad part? Ashton's story is probably going to be even longer than this one, and considering he's so adamant in not believing any of it, I wouldn't be surprised if he had 0 interactions with the ghost up to this point. He doesn't push it, growing quiet instead, although I know he's had the whole case of it prepared inside his head. But there's a reluctant shift in his movement when he steps away from our conversation. Short of climbing the stairs, he stops, turns to face me with an expression almost too conflicted.
Are you really sure
What?
that there was something? That you've been, seeing things?
Oh my god, it's happening!
Yes, I'm very, very certain.
Look at this face. Look at this face. Hang on. Look at this face. Does this look like the face of someone who is not serious?
Now go. And you better not break anything in there. The last time I let you stay over, it was that statuette Belle gave me. You haven't even replaced that one.
The last of my reprimand goes both unheard and unanswered as he disappears behind the stairs. If things aren't as strained, he might have a quip or two about that, followed by a light banter. Instead, for a long moment, I am left staring after him. There's something in the way he asked about it that nags. Coupled with his expression, the whole exchange just feels unsettling. That feels annoying. We almost got him to admit that he's been seeing things. One that doesn't fade, even as I gather my thoughts and shift my focus to another. Even as I dial Professor Andrews' number. And that's when it clicks. During the long wait for the professor, one stray thought emerges from the unease. Ashton has not intended for his question to be a jibe. It's a concern. For what, though? My well-being? The letter's curse? The woman I mentioned? The answers for those will have to wait, however. Finally, the call connects, and Professor Andrews' voice echoes from the receiver.
Professor Andrew?
Rebecca? It's late.
Yeah, it is.
What can I do for you?
Also, it's past midnight. Happy Thanksgiving!
I know, I'm sorry, but this is a bit urgent.
After all, this is a more pressing matter. Our lives might be at stake. We're still in the dark.
Actually, I was wondering if I could ask you to do me a favor.
We're still playing as Rebecca. And we're on the 30th now. We just skipped 2 days. Actually, this is the day we know the least about. Professor Andrew Clark has agreed to meet with me 2 days later in front of Luxburn's public library. We just skipped 2 days. He has other commitments, but being a longtime family friend has its perks. I have my parents' connections to thank for that. Of course, I'm not the sort to impose him often, but the situation is, well, it's not entirely bad, although it does require calling a few favors from friends like him. Without his signature, I won't be able to gain access to the library's restricted section. Oh, it's one of those libraries. If I want to get more in-depth information on the Ermengarde mansion, that is, not simply what they choose to show to the general public. I bet there's actually quite a bit in that book that you haven't read yet. As much as I hate to admit it, there's always something people censor. Whatever it is, I won't ever find it in the general section. Has to be what they're keeping here beyond the public eye. Probably like murder investigations, case file documentations, police reports that are made public or made accessible to certain parts of the public. It's my guess. The thought of that alone makes me antsy. Thankfully, I do not have to brood over it. Actually, why would a library have a restricted section that only people like college professors have access to? That feels strange. I don't really know enough about libraries, though, to be fair. The wait for the professor doesn't last long. He never did enjoy making people wait. Likewise, he dislikes people who are tardy. He arrives 5 minutes after I do, greeting me with the kind of smile and casual wave of his hand. I haven't seen him in so long, but it appears he hasn't changed much. His familiar presence alone is enough for a fond smile to spread across my face.
Professor Andrew.
Rebecca,
It's nice to see this guy again.
didn't I say long ago you can drop the professor?
He kind of reminds me of a professor that once used to lease a room from my mom when I was in high school. Some people would know him as Mr. Hodgkins. Really nice guy. He lives up in Maine now, and I hope he's doing well.
You know I can't possibly do that. Even if I can, it feels disrespectful to call you by your name alone.
Both you and Ashton never listen to this old man. Kids these days.
All right, but just for today, since you're doing me a huge favor, Andrew.
I guess you simply can't have it all, even at this old age. But pleasantries aren't what we're here for, yes? You mentioned you needed a permit.
Yes, sir, if that's okay with you.
More than fine. Anything in pursuit of knowledge, as they say.
He hands me the permit without further prompting. Luxburn City Archives. Oh, that's what the restricted section is. It's the archives. What kind of archives do they keep in a library, though, is a better question. Just like he promised, he also written a recommendation after his signature. Professor of Psychology and Ethnography, University of Luxburn. Visitor signature. This is more than enough to get me those files. I mutter a small thanks before slipping it into my pocket, although when I look back up, his brows are furrowed. The very face of curiosity. Not surprising considering how vague I've been during our little talk over the phone. Right then and there, I decided to tell him if he ever asks. Maybe not all of it, but stuff he needs to know. It's the least I can do to thank him. As expected, true to his inquisitive nature, he asks.
If you don't mind, though, I know you've always been an eager learner, but may I know what in the restricted section that piqued your curiosity?
It's the Ermengarde mansion, sir.
He's quick to raise an eyebrow at that, and for a while I fear he'll take the slip of piece of paper back. There's something in what I
The ones they
said.
have out in the general isn't enough?
I'm, hoping for a more in-depth read, sir. More about the history and the people who once lived there. The general section doesn't have anything much on that.
Oh, I see. Well, you certainly aren't the first one to be enamored with that place. It doesn't shock me. The architecture is admirable, and the urban legends are something to talk about. Why, just this past week, I've got a few asking me about that. Imagine that.
It wouldn't happen to be a Miss McCulloch by any chance, would it?
I think enamored might be a little too much to describe our interest in it. But I have to agree. The mansion is beautiful, even with the renovations. They kept the stained glass windows, too. They are magnificent.
Oh, you've seen it.
I was there for a few hours to attend a housewarming party. The invitation was for my parents, but they couldn't make it. My mum used to work as a private tutor for the Evans. Hannah Wright?
Ah, I know of her. Her husband, too. Who doesn't?
Look at that scowl. Yeah, doesn't exactly leave a great impression, does it?
Luxborn's most popular couple.
Something falls behind his eyes. The warmth in them is suddenly gone. Like he's reliving a painful, distant memory and seeing it play out in front of him. It disappears almost as soon as it surfaces, but that look has unsettled something in me.
Is something the matter?
Nothing much. But you know, you're already like a daughter to me. So if you could, do be careful with the friends you make.
Is this about the rights, sir?
Just a friendly advice from an old man. Don't think much about it.
I think Ashton's been telling him a few things.
Anyway, I have to leave now. Can't miss my weekly serving of bear claws.
Oh, that's what the appointment he's late for. You hurry along, sir, man. Getting donuts early in the morning is really difficult to do. I really hope you successfully acquire those bear claws.
Say
Godspeed.
hi to your parents at the detective inspector for me, will you? I wish you luck with all that research.
And you too with those bear claws.
I will. Thanks for this, Andrew.
Oh my god, is that genuine happiness I see in her face? That's rare. Andrew gives my shoulder a light squeeze. The gesture a younger me has always appreciated, and quickly crosses the street after. I watch him until he disappears behind the door of the cafe, until the doubt swimming inside my head finds a moment to rest. Whatever his business is with the rights isn't anything I should not concern myself with. But somehow, in the grand scheme of things, now all of it feels oddly relevant. The how, though, I've yet to find out. And I'm hoping the library will give me the answers I want this time. On a gloomy sunny morning, the library is especially empty. Second floor in particular. I've always considered this place to be a sanctuary, a respite away from the hubbub of the city. I used to love going to the library when I was younger. It was always a nice, quiet, calm place. It was just a good place to sit down. In fact, I plan on spending most of the coming weekend taking a break from living and reading the 2 books on my shelf that I have yet to. As a child, I grew up reading books here, spending hours here to no end, poring over the pages, living out fantasies in my head until the parents called me home. Now it feels nothing like it. The silence is smothering, suffocating, even with how clean they've kept the microfiche room? How the entire small of it lacks a speck of dust or clutter. Not far into my stay, I begin to long for the noise outside, and perhaps as a way to calm this unease, I start to hum a tune. Imagine that. Why, of all things, it has to be that Sillery nursery rhyme. I've not an inkling. Oh no, it's London Bridge is falling down, isn't it? Oh, good, it doesn't make me replay it. It does its job, however. It fills the lull with something far less awkward, far less deafening, and that is enough for a distraction. I have business here. No time for silly daydreams, only important work to attend to. Even if there's a possibility of it being fruitless, by some means it feels like I have to do it, if not for me, then for the people who it has affected. This. What do we even call this? I say curse. Haunting? That works too. A Halloween prank gone wrong? Kinda? That is tomorrow. Curse? If Isabella here, what would she say? Will she panic? Will she be angry I only listen to her now? It all stems from the one moment in the movie house, doesn't it? We could have avoided this if we had only taken her warnings to heart. One stupid mistake is all it took to send our normal lives on a downward spiral. Frankly, I'm no longer sure if I'm angry at myself for it, or at the universe for throwing us into this mess. I'd be more angry at the latter. But we can only make do with what little we have. That's exactly what I'm doing. Going here might not be the right decision, but it's a start.
A good start.
Yeah, it would have been a good start to have done this a week ago, though. It doesn't take much time for me to find what I need. A microfiche of old newspapers, long-kept special storage cabinets at the far end of the restricted section. The year is 1620s and beyond. Before the city of Luxburn even exists in the records, when the mansion has just been built, and Ansem was nothing more than a small sleepy hamlet near the river. A lot of pieces are missing, days, sometimes several consecutive weeks without any records remaining. Often it goes on for years. Troublesome, but as it is, I'm lucky enough to find anything at all considering how far I'm looking back. Can't be picky now. Can't waste time mulling over record keepers of the old. Could have done to make this a breeze for me.
I can still work with this.
The faint whir of the microfiche machine keeps me company as I go from each side of the image, hoping for something that goes beyond what the local lore knows. There are snippets, little mentions of the family that once settled in the house here and there, the usual singing of praises for the couple who had helped brought up what was once a tiny settlement into a buzzing town. Nothing substantial, nothing I didn't know before. It continues on like this for a good while, till I come by the years after their deaths. People of Ansem might have loved Lord William and Lady Elizabeth Ermengarde, mourned their passing, and held them in high esteem in the years after, but it was their daughter that was remembered fondly by the townspeople. If her parents built this town, Lady Charlotte was the one who made it prosper. I've already completely forgotten the lore of that we got in the early spiel about the mansion, so this is actually kind of a nice refresher course. Remarkable considering it was a period of recovery from the bout of plague that killed half the town's population, including her parents. That's the girl. That's the chick. Can I show that on stream? Hang on. I don't think I can show that. There we go. Hide that. Censor bar. What's surprising, though, apparently her time also marked more than the superficial changes to the place. She moved things, changed laws, altered old customs and traditions. If they were done on a woman's whimsy, it doesn't say. But she seems capable enough. More than that. The gist of it is, the town she rebuilt, it was eventually what grew to become Luxburn, while nearby Ansem village remained as it was, a relic of the old. A frown swiftly forms in my face.
So, why is there a need to hide this?
One by one, I try to recall every lesson I've gone through, every book, paper, and journal I've read. None of these ever mentioned this. It's always the lord and lady of the house, their endearing child. Always an afterthought to those anecdotes. The one who always took her life in the end. never someone who restored the town from the brink of collapse, or brought new ideas to it. Is it because she's a woman?
That pisses me off.
Yeah, that adds up. That checks out. Women got no respect until, I want to say, late, mid 1960s? And the civil rights movement around here, I think, is a good hot topic time period when equal rights movements were at its highest. Granted, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. Not all aspects of her can be considered admirable. But this is history. Some parts are bound to naturally delve into the unpleasant territory, whether I like it or not. At least this one's wearing clothes. Witch hunts, for example, became common near the end of her life, which would have been completely unremarkable and might have gone to become a mere footnote in history if it didn't involve Lady Charlotte and the very slave she saved. Oh. That's concerning. It caused quite a stir, enough to leave almost a week's worth of clippings. The girl was eventually burned, condemned by an entire town. At the word of Lady Charlotte alone. This doesn't really have anything to do with the curse, does it? I'm sure it does. Unless the woman following us is the slave, are the same person, that seems like a pretty good thought. A tale of revenge, how cliché. However, with the lack of accurate photographs, it's impossible to tell. Maybe if I squint, the illustration would start resembling her. It looks close enough to me. But in my field, it doesn't work that way. It shouldn't work that way. I'll be the laughingstock of the community.
This isn't going anywhere.
Mentally exhausted, I take a careful step away from the screen, pressing my palm on my tired eyes. The lack of ample light in this area doesn't help. A headache already threatens to form at the back of my head, yet I'm nowhere near figuring things out. This is simply too much to take in all at once.
I should have asked for someone's help.
Now I'm at a dead end. I start gathering up everything around me and placing them back in their respective envelopes for storage. The motion's no longer new, after volunteering here a number of times. I didn't make much of a mess anyway, considering the lack of materials available to begin with. I'll have to look somewhere else. The where remains unknown, though. But just as I'm about to slip the last of the slides in, something catches my attention. My hand pauses, the microfiche halfway through its protected sleeve. This is one of the few I set aside without taking a careful look at. It seems like a gossip column at first glance, but upon a closer look, I'll slide it back into the reader, gently turning the dials in search of the page. Hang on. Move my face. We're preparing for it this time. It takes some time, but once the image becomes clear... Okay. I put my face in the wrong spot. Ermengarde heir announces betrothal. Let's see. They must have had this drawing commissioned for this announcement. I don't doubt it. The details are far more intricate. Their likeness is closer to how they might have appeared at the time. They're both recognizable in this way, closer to those paintings I've seen in the mansion. However, it's the man standing beside her, Edward Godfrey. According to the article, that caught my attention previously. Her first cousin and eventually her fiancé. I don't know if that was uncommon at the time, but Oh, I know it was more common than it is now. Maybe it's the posture, the manner in which he holds himself. I think it's because he looks like together they look like Hannah Wright and Luke Wright. Maybe it's the posture, the manner in which he holds himself, or maybe it's the shape of his eyes, though I can't be too certain about that until I've gotten a better reference. Nevertheless, there is a resemblance. He looks eerily like... My head snaps up, glowering at whoever's running across the floor above. Any dad march upstairs and reprimand whoever it is.
The library, for heaven's sake.
But now isn't the time. I've gotten what I need. Rest in peace, Marianne. I'm pretty sure you're dead. No one's gonna find you. Or we'll find you after she's starved to death. But now isn't the time. I've gotten what I need. Without wasting another minute, I hit the machine's print button and copy the page. On my other hand, moves to put everything back into storage. A ragged exhale slips from me. Relief, perhaps, or maybe this is already exhaustion. Regardless, soon I'm closing my eyes as I wait for the printer to finish. If only to stave off a headache building up from everything. Please stop doing that. Sometime I even began humming the same song again for comfort. Despite my doubts about this, despite all the tension in my shoulders, this may be a small find, but at least I can start somewhere. We can start somewhere. There's a way out of this. I know it. The printer sputters to a halt. However, its sound isn't what makes me snap my eyes open. Tap the blue mana. It's time for the nopes. A feeling, a chilly brush of air behind my neck. Brief enough for something sickening and suddenly lodge itself in my throat while I take in my surroundings. That suffocating sensation again. Creeping to every part of me, crawling under my skin, draining me little by little of any strength. From that day in the mansion, from that brief moment at the school, without delay I grab the papers and make a quick beeline for the door. My whole body freezes. Save! Save the game! Save me! Save my life! Save Becca!
What are you doing, Miss Pink?
Of course it's Kylie's voice. Why would it be anyone else's? I held my breath, not daring to make any noise. For a little while, only the sound of paper crumpling under my grasp fills the room, the excitement from earlier gone instantly. Yes, I was going to comment about that, but you already corrected yourself. For a little while, only the sound of paper, replaced by a cold, seeping dread spreading throughout my limbs. But more than the fear is the anger. It pains me to hear her using my own student's voice against me. And more than once I believed it was really her. She has no
Why
right.
don't you play with me?
Although she hasn't made a move, if there isn't a wall behind me, I'll probably take a step back. Anything to put distance between us, no matter how small, as long as I'm out of her reach. But I steel myself, because if I do fall back, turn away from her, I'll be left with no way out. I am not dying here.
You think you scare me?
Stop! Don't yell, lady. This is a library.
Miss Pink, don't be so rude. I'm waiting.
I'm not afraid of you, you spook This is one Scotswoman. You aren't getting into an early grave without a fight.
That's right. Show them what you're made of, lassie.
Come at me.
I expected she'll lunge to prove what a monster she is. Instead, all she gives me is a smile, twisted and gnarled. It's as if time has crawled to a stop at the sight of it. A split-second decision. Before I know it, my body shifts. Eyes closing in anticipation, hand grabbing whatever's solid enough on a nearby table, and hurling it at her. I don't bother looking if whether I threw hit its mark. I run. As fast as my legs can carry me, despite my heart threatening to burst out of my chest. But in this maze of bookshelves, the whole place is almost void of people. This is one of those things I always find annoying in these situations. One of those 50-50 splits where I'm pretty sure we're dead if we pick wrong. We heard someone running upstairs, so there's probably people up there. But heading to the door is the logical answer. That's the answer I'm sure the game expects me to pick. There's also an exit upstairs, though. Let's try upstairs. There are people upstairs, aren't there? The weekend staff or some volunteer? There should be. You heard noises. Even if it's Sunday and I'm only here on a special permit, there should be at least one other person manning this place. I heard them a while ago. Of course, I couldn't possibly tell them about this. They won't believe me the same manner. We didn't buy Isabella's stories until it was too late. But I can easily come up with excuses. For now, what's important is I don't end up trapped alone with her.
Safety in numbers, as they say.
There's no hesitation in my steps as I race up the stairs, ears straining for any signs or sounds of the woman appearing, jumping at me again at any second. I can still hear her behind her. The grinding of bones, her whispers as she's calling me back. Although it's at a distance, I don't know if I don't slow my pace. Library rules be damned. Because no matter how much I pretend to be brave, the level-headed one, or the tough one, this terrifies me. This scares me more than anything. This isn't how I plan to die. When I get to the third floor, it's empty. We dead! Only silence welcomes me, and an emptiness that stretches out far too wide, spanning the entirety of the floor for it to be reassuring. Just behind me, somewhere at the foot of the stairs, panic rises up my throat. No other way now but up. We did the horror movie thing. We kept going up. So I bolt, desperation kicking in without warning. I take 2 steps at a time, tripping clumsily over some of it in my last-ditch attempt to escape. But I know. In the back of my mind, I know. I know all of this is futile. With every footfall, with every ragged breath, every pounding in my heart gets hammered into my mind. It only becomes clearer once the door at the end opens, revealing a vast expanse of Luxembourg's early morning skyline, with her treading at my heels, blocking my only way out.
Stay away from me!
A useless plea. Does she even understand a word I say? Can she even? Is she still human in the first place? Somehow I doubt it. Because no human being will ever do this. Simply imagining what she's capable of doing to us. I never want to give her that chance.
I'm telling you to back off!
How does a ghost evacuate a building? That's what I want to know. I don't care if it's Sunday. People are in a library. We should have ran into somebody. Her gait is slow as she walks forward. I would try to rush past her. Like, football tackle, shoulder charge. Come on, you can do it. You're a strong woman. Each stride accompanied by the sound of breaking bones, blood oozing from wounds that never found healing. With every inch she draws nearer, even as I pull away to back up what little distance between us, I can smile. She's gonna back over and trip over the fucking banister, isn't she? A mocking gesture, for me. She may be less human now, but I'm pretty sure she's fully aware she's got me cornered. She wouldn't even bother making it here if she isn't. But I can't look away. I can't bring myself to. Even as the heel of my shoe eventually hits the edge. End of the line. Trapped. Alone. So this is how it ends, huh? Quietly and without fanfare, surrounded by not warm breeze but chilly morning air. No soft footfalls in an empty hallway. The din of an early morning traffic below. No warm afternoon light. Nothing but the cold, pungent smell of death. All underneath a dreary morning sky. How fitting. Yet amidst all of it, there's a single voice I want to hear. For the last time. Oh, she's gonna call someone.
Becca?
Hey, did I wake you up?
No, I left you a voicemail, so I thought, where are you?
The one I grew up with. Always got got grades better than I did without even trying. Whose silly antics have to put up with all these years. Stood by me even when things got tougher. One person who's been a constant in my life.
Do you remember that one time?
Damn it, I don't want this to be emotional. I want this to be graphic. I don't want to feel sad that she's... Although the creepy music stops, this would be a great fake out. If she actually is going to confess here and the ghost goes away.
Back in secondary, we joined a contest back then, didn't we? We had to dress you up as a girl and...
With the help of Professor Andrew Clark, Rebecca was able to gain access to Luxburn's library's restricted section, and there she discovered numerous accounts of the Ermin guards, all hidden from the public. Her research was interrupted, however, when...
No.
What? You looked really pretty. I think I still have that picture somewhere.
Burn it. We're not talking about that again. You promised. Seriously, what brought this on?
Nothing. It's just the first thing I remembered.
So weird. Despite everything, my lips curl into a smile. A faint, sad little thing on its own, given the situation. Because even at the very end, I know I have this. The casual talk, the friendly banter, talking like how we would as children. If only I haven't been too selfish. If only I haven't taken all of this for granted, in favor of my feelings. And perhaps I won't be regretting everything now.
You're being weird today, Becca. Whatever. Listen, I need you to go home right away. I'm at Salem Well right now and...
Wish time would simply stop for us. There's still a lot of things I want to say. Things I never bothered saying out loud. Things I should have said a long time ago to someone who has always been by my side. But at the moment, there's only one. One thing's constant.
Hold on, did I do something?
For everything.
Rebecca, what?
I'm so glad to have known you.
Wait, what are you? God damn it, Rebecca, where are you?
A soft click, and I'm closing my eyes. Uh-oh. There's a rush of air. The sound of the world dimming around me. Like a song coming to its inevitable end.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady.
We can do. My power can undo this! Oof. Trapped with nowhere to go, Rebecca called the one person who always had a special place in her heart, all to say thank you, if only for one last time. there's one that... if there's one, it is out of this room, out of this place, as far away as anyone can get from her. I can think about the rest of what I can do after I'm outside, and there's other people I can ask for help, when she's not chasing after me like this. There's no hesitation in my steps as I race for the restricted section's door, head downstairs and barrel straight to the library's exit. Towards safety in a desperate bid for my life. Library rules be damned. I can no longer hear her behind me, but I'm not taking any chances. A breath almost escapes me as I near the door. Actually, I didn't really mention this in the last little section we went through, but it did now occur to me, considering she was on the ceiling, that running we heard on the second floor earlier might have just been her running across the ceiling, and we only just now noticed her. My breath almost escapes me as I near the door. A little more, and out of nowhere, a library cart careens from a blind corner and slams into my sides. My back hits the floor with a hard thud, the impact completely knocking the breath out of me. The copper tang of blood gradually spreads out over my tongue as I fight and get my bearings back. Someone knocked you over. There's no one to run into. Who fucking pushed the library cart into you? I force myself to move, even with the excruciating pain coursing through my limbs. The exit's almost there. If only I can. There's no moment's respite. Next thing I know, there's a heavy weight atop me, and cold digits slide around my neck, tight like a vice, pressing, closing in, leaving me gasping for air. Through my blurred vision, I can only make out the hateful gleam of spite in her eyes, as she looms over my body and grip on my throat grows tighter. Desperation kicks in. My nails dig into her wrists as I struggle against her firm grip, trying to pry her fingers away.
Let go. Let me go.
Oh, I hate this minigame. I wasn't really sure what I was doing. I don't think twice. My limbs are moving on their own before what I did could fully register in my brain and my lungs could recover. I wasn't even really sure what I was doing. Behind me, she lets out a cry. Sharp, loud, and thunderous against the empty walls of the library. But the fear her wails bring compares nothing to the relief washing over me when I finally make it out. Quick escape! My knees buckle as soon as my feet hits the pavement, its surface cold and hard against my skin. I've only been there for a few hours, about 1 or 2 probably. Ugh, I don't know anymore. Feels like an eternity all the same. My breathing hasn't slowed down, and yet I don't expect it to after going through that. Quick, to the bear claws! I probably look most undignified creature on a Sunday morning right now, out of breath, disheveled, slumped, here with a bloodied lip and all. But at present, I simply can't bring myself to care, even when a few passers-by start giving me strange looks. Stare at me all you want. I don't give a single shite. I am alive. I am safe. This isn't the end, but I am safe. And inside my bag is something that could get us out of this mess. Nothing definite yet. I don't want to get my hopes up, but it's still something. If Isabella is here, I'm sure she'll feel the same. She'll even be the first one who will put faith on it. Whether this will lead us to a victory on its own. Now all that's left is to find the others. The rest of us trapped in this bloody nightmare. Right on cue, as if to answer my previous thought, my mobile phone lets out a beep. Pick it up, simply hoping it'll be one of them. It's only a voicemail that greets me. Oh, it's the thing we found out in the death route. From Ashton. There's a pang of disappointment. But it brings some reassurance that nothing's happened. To at least one of them.
Hey, Becca, call me back when you're free. We need to talk. ASAP.
He ends it right there. The message less than a minute long. Curt and gives nothing away. I let it ease my worries. Regardless, do as he asks. Because this too is another triumph for us. One less thing to worry about. Rebecca was seen limping out of the Luxburn Public Library late Sunday morning, checking her mobile. A lone voicemail from Ashton was in it, telling them that they need to talk ASAP. Alrighty, we finished this up. As much as I want to end it there, we've finally managed to get out of Becca's story mode, and we've managed to do it in just a little bit over 2 hours. Which means I've got about another 15 to 30 minutes, or even 45 minutes before I feel like I'm getting tired of this game, so let's slug through as much more of this as we can before we go. Since this will probably be the last thing I do for at least another week. We might not be having a stream this Friday, I haven't decided yet. It's a busy weekend. This is Thanksgiving weekend. I gotta talk entire family members out of gathering. And I have books to read and reports to write. So it's gonna be a busy weekend. So let's slog through more of this and get my mind off of literally anything else. Parties have never really been my... Oh wow, we're starting here? Alrighty. Ashton Ash Frey. December 26th. Or is that 20th? I think that's 20th. No, that's a 6. December 26th, Capricorn. 29 years old. Older than me. 5'5". Shorter than me. Detective Inspector, American Japanese, Christian, non-practicing, bachelor's degree in forensic science, takoyaki ice cream, Shirley, Ophelia, old-timey action movies and thrillers, kart racing, jazz, and swing, Sherlock Holmes, Justice. Who is Shirley? Ophelia. There was little love between his parents, and though he grew up privileged, he found little joy in his student life. He saw a standard testing system as a chore and considers his popularity among his peers to be an annoyance. Rebecca was the only one he considered a friend at St. Coretti, and he was no better when he went to university. If anything, his indifferent outlook got worse with his parents' divorce. He initially took law, but was quickly disillusioned with how heavy-handed and abused the system was. Forensic science, on the other hand, became fascinating for him. He served a brief time as a police officer before he applied to join Luxburn's Criminal Investigation Department. Early on, he was too eager to deal out justice, but his numerous years in service became quite a learning experience for him. Now as a detective inspector, he's been assigned his biggest case yet. Now, parties have never really been my thing. They're always such a hassle and take up so much time of my day. Prior plans and commitments canceled, all for the sake of playing along with others.
Welcome everyone.
I hated them, even as a child.
Please, make yourselves at home.
Man, we're gonna get right into the juicy bits with his story. Maybe it actually won't be as long as the others. Especially if we are starting here. My mom often insisted. She'd slick my hair back, put me in one of those stuffy dinner jackets. I think you were looking for the term blazer. Speaking of jackets, it's time for me to remove mine. Ooh, my back. Let's just do a little stretch. Ah, that's better. and if there were any children around, urged me to make friends. Never mind how utterly loud or tedious it was. It was all for the sake of keeping up appearances. I know we have like a partner system, at least how police are portrayed here in the States, but do cops have partners in Europe and England? Because if so, that means that might be who this Shirley character is. To some extent, lies have already surrounded me, long before I've chosen what I wanted to do with my life. Luckily, there were easy ways to tune everything out. And much of my mom's frustration, I always managed to sneak my CD player along. I kept to myself and to my music. Had my own little world. Till I learned to observe. It's a simple matter of awareness, really. For someone with keen eyes, a skewed necktie or a simple flick of the wrist alone could tell volumes about a person. Still don't like parties. Especially ones big and fancy as the Wrights' housewarming. However, when there's an actual reason to go to them, I figure, they're not too bad.
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
Oh, Shirley is his car, I forgot. I've already forgotten. So who's Ophelia? Besides, like it or not, it's still part of the job, and I'm here on a mission. One that has the name Luke Wright plastered all over it. You'd think the man would want to remain inconspicuous after his name was linked to several high-profile crimes across Luxburg. Finally, we're going to get some details on that. Granted, most of it have gone cold over the years, having stagnated without any lead or evidence, but that still doesn't make him any less suspect. Yet here he is, throwing a party in his own backyard. Although having observed the man this past year, I'm not even shocked. He craves it. Damn spotlight. Constantly yearns for attention like a neglected puppy. Doesn't take a genius to figure out why he's nowhere to be found in his own party. That's not the problem here. Pisses me off is how far his reach extends. How close he has creeped into the lives of the people I care about. Again, like a stubborn itch you couldn't be rid of. First Professor Clark, then there's Isabella. I also spotted Z-Man here a while ago, and now there's also Rebecca. Apparently.
Ashton?
Becca, what are you doing here?
Sprite! Look at it! It's beautiful!
I was invited.
Really? I had no idea you were friends with the host.
That explains things and makes this difficult all the same. As if getting contact among the staff to sneak a name into the guest list isn't hard enough. Oh. The guy almost ditched me last night and might have placed another setback on my investigation if it wasn't for my generous tip. Here comes Rebecca, another person to mind.
Well, it's my parents, actually. But that's beside the point. What are you doing here? You hate parties.
I still do. I'm just here on behalf of a friend.
Unnecessary lie. I can't bring my own friends into this any further than what they've found themselves in. Because if Luke Wright so much as harms a hair on either Zach or Rebecca's heads, there will be hell to pay. Don't worry, I think Luke's clean. The butler, however, may have been murdering people. Whether or not that's part of the main plot, I think that's going to be the B plot that Ashton's been following, is the butler's behind that. Because the butler did it. The butler always did it. The curse, however, is a curse that he needs to fucking get on the bandwagon for. Worrying about Isabella's brief dealings with him is stressing in itself already. I doubt he'll attempt anything in front of other people, though. It would tarnish his glorious reputation, and he values appearances more than anything. That doesn't necessarily mean he isn't capable of it. More than, in fact. And on the off chance he does something, I wouldn't be responsible for my actions.
Rare. Do you have someone with you then?
Nope, just me. I won't be staying long.
Oh, well, if that's the case, maybe you and I can.
For Zach's and Rebecca's sakes, however, I really hope this will simply be another housewarming. Even though something tells me it's anything but. Call it a detective's intuition or whatever. When Luke Wright's involved, nothing good has ever come out of it, and I can't let my guard down here. Even more so when a familiar car shows up and out comes...
Chief?
My presence here might be odd, but at best, I have an excuse. One that this man handed to me himself a year ago, along with a heavy dose of flattery for the newly promoted detective inspector. Can't exactly say the same for a good old boss, can I? Although to see him here chatting it up with Lexburn's Rich and Famous isn't such a big surprise in itself, no disrespect meant, but the guy is obviously a social climber. What is surprising is the fact that he seems all too eager to mingle with a person of interest's wife. The hell is he doing here? He's friends with the guy you're investigating, and somehow you don't know that as a detective.
Ashton, what's...
Sorry, Becca. I need to... There's something I need to check for a bit. I'll talk to you later. Do you have a ride home?
No, I had to take a cab here. My car wouldn't start this afternoon. But what about...
The shit is going on here.
I told you to get that old thing checked before, didn't I? You can head back with me after this. Anyway, I gotta go. See ya. Be careful, okay?
Hey, be careful! About what exact...
I don't want to draw attention to myself either. It's not until he's given me a proper reason to spoil his little party.
Thank you for the invite, Anna. Husband still missing, I see?
I should be saying the same of your darling Rochelle, Lee. The doctors again?
For now, the best I can do is wait and remain inconspicuous, especially with the chief here, whose motives are dubious at best. I mean, if he's having to pretend I don't know Zach or... If it means pretending I don't know Zach or Rebecca, or forcing myself to rub elbows with people I barely know, let alone like, then so be it. I can't involve anyone. Wandering about is a question... Wandering is out of the question as well. There are guards and civvies stations here and there. Man, who talks like this? Sure, getting past them is something I could do with ease, but I'd rather not right now. When I'm one of the few snooping and roaming about, it'd be best to try and do so once there is a crowd of people. And if their interior designers' drunker claims are to be believed.
Yes, well, what about Luke? Should we file a missing persons report now, or do you want to wait 24 hours?
I gotta wait 48 here in the States.
He's around.
You know, I can tell if someone's bluffing.
It'll all come down to how I play my cards tonight. The good hand, this party is going to give me the breakthrough I need to crack Luke Wright, or something to prove my suspicions wrong. Maybe I'll find out what kind of game my boss is also playing. I've had an inkling before, a few hunches tempered down by how much of a bumbling fool the man appears. But one does not simply deal with the Wrights and get invited to a party they host without wanting anything from either of the two. Or it's the other way around. Yeah, he's friends. Luke Wright is friends with your boss. You don't see the forest for the trees. So with the last wary glance at the two, I head into the ballroom. I just hope this will not complicate things further. Shit. That shit felt out of place. And also, he didn't say shite. I need to get a wireless mouse. I normally hate wireless mice, but my mouse's cord has been starting to get in the way. By the time the party's in full swing, night has fallen, yet there still isn't a Luke Wright in sight. The man can be quite ostentatious, but this, frankly, I'm impressed. I don't even know how many hors d'oeuvres I've already stuffed my face with. One too many, probably. The servers are already giving me a stink eye every time I saunter over to the buffet table. Blame your employer, not me. He's the one who has the guts to show up late. Besides, most of the guests' idle talk is concentrated in this area. Despite standing under the same roof with the very people they're whispering about, some just couldn't resist. Might as well keep an ear out for any useful info.
Is Suarez still fixing that tech problem?
Tech problem? It's been 3 years. Sooner or later, the Blighter will put 2 and 2 together.
He might have already.
If the red tape I'm being slammed with these past few months suggests anything, that or someone has been pulling the strings. I wouldn't be shocked. This case would not have gone this long if Scumbag didn't have a mule of some kind for the force.
Shush you, we all know Suarez just wants an out.
I knew he was bad news the day the merger with Evans Incorporated happened.
Feh. Glad I did not have to deal with that. But keep it down, someone might hear. The wife especially.
This kind of negligence has always been an advantage, but sometimes I wish I could have smashed drunk while doing this. Having sharp ears also means you get to hear the most unsavory things. Who cheated on who this week, one person's motive for bashing someone's skull against a wall, or a father's excuse for burning his own daughter alive, that sort of stuff. Jeez, it didn't have to go that far. After a few years, it gets tiring. You get desensitized to it. But humans could also be downright awful. Sometimes there simply isn't enough brain bleach in the world. Sadly, the wine is a no-go tonight, and it's mostly for show. I'm up for another drive later, for one, and I definitely want to be sober in case anything comes up. And something always comes up in assignments like this. A detective inspector dying of cardiac arrest, for example. Because I can feel the moment my heart grinds to a halt the second I shift my eyes to a corner of the ballroom.
Hannah Wright.
Some will say I'm acting a touch bit paranoid, and maybe I am. This is a party, and she's the hostess. It goes to say that she'd take a time to mingle with her guests. But Hannah Wright, Hannah Wright, Evans, isn't without her fair share of accolades. At least to the public, she doesn't seem like it. Unlike her husband, she's the one with the business sense, not to mention the impressive track record needed to manage a company, or effectively hide whatever irregularity there might be. She's clean as far as my agents and I have found, but it doesn't rule out a possible involvement with whatever her husband is up to. Nope, she has not worked since she got married. She's been thinking about going back into it. She is clean. Hell, Luke Wright came out clean in previous reports until I bothered to take a deeper look into it. What I found may not be sufficient to bring anyone to trial yet. There's enough to nurture suspicion. Finally, details. Give me the deets. This may be a bit of an overreaction, but no one lasts long in my line of work for being careless.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Nothing to be worried about then. She's probably even more careful with appearances than her own husband, having grown up in the spotlight focused on her. Yet even knowing that, the anxiety stays. Has been here since the party started. I brushed it off earlier. Who wouldn't feel edgy, right? I've gone undercover in a party hosted by the very person I'm investigating. That in itself is risky and has plenty of rooms for error. Usually, though, the tension passes around the first half hour or so. I've been trained to remain composed in situations like this. However, with each second I spend here, it only grows heavier and seeks to overwhelm. An odd Oh, he's hearing the whispers. The odd feeling that someone is watching me instead. It's been like this since last week, but I should say I should already be used to this. People would be looking at me no matter how small or big a blip I am on their radar. That's what they do in these things. But when the feeling of eyes burning into my back lingers longer than necessary, I've been looking around every now and then to catch the culprit. No luck. And despite my efforts to push the sensation as far down as I could, tiny pinpricks continued to sting the back of my head, and the ghost of a cold touch creeps in my limbs, till my gaze switches back to Rebecca and Hannah Wright. Finally! God, why does he have to be such a skeptical denier even at this stage? She stands there, dark-haired and dirty, sticking out like a sore thumb. Even so, no one seems to notice. Although she's looking away from me, her mere existence here strikes, disturbs. A sense of tunnel vision binds while I stand stock still and gape at her, like my life depends on making sure she stays where she is. I feel trapped in her presence, till another guest bumps into me, yanking me out of my stupor. Only then do I realize that I've been holding my breath. Before I can figure out what happened, she's gone. A quick scan of the room yields no sign of her. The party continues as if nothing's amiss. I'm not really one to judge, but I'm sure someone like that would not have been allowed in a fancy thing like this. What has the security been doing? Are they really that incompetent for someone so distinct to easily get in without notice? You'd think he would notice that one of her legs is backwards. Or the fact that she's dripping blood. Other things that are noteworthy about her. There should have been an outcry by now, but particularly from the host. She's been standing almost arm's length away from the woman, and yet she simply continues her talk with Rebecca.
Oh, the professor! And your little Becky!
My parents couldn't make it since they're in Scotland right now. And Mom says hi, by the way.
Is there something in the food then? That I'm starting to see things? Couldn't have been the wine though. I'm every bit as sober as when I first stepped off my car. The hors d'oeuvres? Why would anyone want to do that? Why would Luke Wright want to do that? He's fishy. I couldn't see why he'd ever think it'd be a good idea to lace the food he'd serve at his party with someone like a chef Chief Lee as a guest list to boot. He has been linked to the narcotics trade. However, that kind of tactic is below him. Not much I could tell. Unless there's a mass murder waiting to happen here tonight, which I highly doubt.
What the fuck was that?
You seeing things. Ghosts. Spooky, scary skeletons. There's no time to look deeper. Even if I want to. Not when a telling silence comes upon the room and draws everyone's attention to the main doors of the ballroom.
About damn time.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party? I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the Wright Mansion.
Pretty late. Been tailing this guy for a while now. Before that, I heard stories from previous officers who tackled this case, none of which are pleasant. Mind, I'm not counting the incident with Professor Clark yet. Pleasant is glossing over the gravity of it. While Wright's good at covering whatever shady stuff he's doing, he's shown to be a really rotten guy. At least that's the case when he thinks none of his peers around judge him. I lost track of how many counts of verbal abuse and harassment cases the guy could be pinned with. Standing in the same room as him doesn't make me want to punch him any less. Actually, the urge is stronger, but protocols my case first and foremost. My own opinion on the man couldn't get ahead of my purpose here. Now this would be a fun twist. What if the ghost is in love with him because she resembles that guy that we got to see the little image of in the death clip, and that's what's causing the murders? It's just people that he gets pissed at. Because he seems to be the least disturbed about this. If I want to put him in his place, it should be in a court with all the proper charges filed against him. And I'll only be able to do that once I gather enough evidence to pin this bastard down.
Welcome, one and all, to our humble abode.
Hey, he's scumbag now.
Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are all ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness. So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses, as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone!
Suppressing my annoyance, I prepare to step away from the crowd. Amidst the cheers and claps, now is as good a time as any to make my move. Try and find that something the McCulloch woman talked about. In the first place, I have no plans to actually shake hands with the slimeball himself. A fake smile plastered on my face, while I pretend to listen to one of the other guests gossiping about him. All the while slowly inching out of the ballroom. Fortunately, before I can get any further...
Are you feeling ill, Rochelle? Perhaps you need to sit down and...
Rich people only have two ways to resolve their mess. Either way, they quietly deal with it behind closed doors, or they create an even greater problem out of it, and it just blows up in everyone's faces one way or another. Fun!
No! Shut it, you monster! I ain't talking to you, you bloody bastard!
Blah, blah, blah. Not even a few seconds in, and this is already proving itself to be a big public spectacle. Why spend money on television to buy daytime soap operas? You could just go to one of these parties and see the action unfold in real life. You get free food, too. Man, I should crash rich people's parties. That does sound entertaining. Really, if I were an actual guest, I'd just take this as some sordid form of amusement.
Watch your tongue! You're on thin ice, Rochelle. Where's your husband? Who even invited you?
But I am not a guest who's here for a good time. I need to focus on him, even through this whole sorry tale. So I wait, I listen, I observe. Interesting, isn't it, though? That's the chief inspector's wife. And we're skipping ahead. We skip to the next day. The chief inspector probably heard Marianne in the basement. The morning after starts off quiet. Even the whole Salemwell residences seem unusually still. The open hallway, when I step out, is devoid of tenants. No sounds coming from the other units either. It's almost as if something's brewing on the horizon. Peaceful night's sleep still does wonders for the mood, though I can't even remember the last time I slept without anything urgent interrupting. It's a nice break from the bad news lately. If it wasn't for the insistent buzzing in my pocket waking me up, I'd sleep in. The ringing has stopped before I could move somewhere private, but sleep has also been effectively kicked out of my system by then. Pity. I could use a little more rest. Till I have to face the other storm. Of course, I owe Rebecca an explanation. It doesn't matter if it's the whole truth or another hastily spun tale. Although I really haven't figured out how to go about this yet. Unlike Zach and Isabella, who don't usually ask questions and are content with what little I could share, Rebecca's rather quick on the trigger. Will have to be set aside for later, though.
Sup, I'm Ash from Deluxe City. Baggers, watch out, can't beat me. Looking for trouble? Better not lie. lie. I'm a cool dude. Pretty fly for an Asian guy. Sup, Ash
I
from
forgot how
New York
stupid
City.
his ringtone
Beggars
is.
watch out, can't beat me. Looking for trouble?
The chief's name
Better
stares
not
back at
lie.
me, almost
I'm a
as if
cool
it's
dude.
mocking me.
Pretty fly for an Asian
Sad.
guy. Sup,
Would have been
Ash
nice
from
to just
New
chill
York
after
City.
last night, maybe
Beggars
half
watch
listen to
out,
the news.
can't beat me. Looking for trouble? Better not lie. I'm a cool
Sure, it's the
dude.
same
Pretty
thing that
fly
we've
for
been
an
hearing
Asian guy.
lately.
Sup,
Still beats
Ash from New
standing.
York City.
Okay, I have to
Beggars
mute
watch
this.
out, can't beat me. Looking for trouble? Better not lie.
Peace and
I'm a
quiet.
cool dude. Pretty fly for an Asian
You
guy.
guys have to suffer, though.
Sup, Ash from New York City. Beggars watch out, can't
Sure, it's the
beat
same
me.
thing we've been
Looking for
hearing
trouble?
lately.
Better not
Still beats
lie.
standing
I'm a
outside in the
cool
chilly
dude.
Luxburn
Pretty
morning
fly
on
for an
the phone
Asian
with my
guy.
boss.
Sup, Ash from New York City. Beggars watch out,
Sighing,
can't beat me.
I
Looking
answer
for
it,
trouble?
if only to
Better
get
not
this
lie.
over with.
Frey, where are you right now?
Okay, I'm gonna turn my sound back on so I can hear this. Now, that's a tone I didn't expect from him at this hour. Just thinking how this will go already gives me a headache. Immediately I reach up and pinch the bridge of my nose with a stave on it.
This is why I won't ever drink myself senseless.
What was that?
Nothing, Chief. A pleasant morning to you too.
He's probably calling to rag on me or complain about his wife, which is really none of my business unless it affects my case. Seems like the usual rich man cheats on his wife deal. Though I would have followed up on it if it were somebody else's wife. Figuring it's the chief's, hey, I trust him to come clean if the missus is related to the right's shady dealings. This is why I left before they even hauled the woman out last night. I'm not going to go around investigating the cheating husbands and wives. It's probably just that. Chief appears to have a different idea in mind, though.
There's nothing pleasant in the morning. Anyway,
Oof.
where are you? I told you millions of times before to keep your lines open.
He did, and not only him. Zach, Rebecca, and Isabella, all of them have said the same thing numerous times in the past. But I was undercover last night. A phone call is the last thing I want to happen when there are other things I need to focus on at the time. Or you could just put your phone on, buzz, so that your horrifying ringtone doesn't make you stand out. But I was on... Okay. Besides, we have radios and work-issued phones. Why is he using those channels if this is
Just
urgent?
woke up, sir. As awesome as it is to hear your voice this morning, it really is early. If you could give me a few minutes just to wake myself up, that'd be swell.
No need for that. This won't take long.
Is something wrong? Am I needed at the precinct ASAP?
Oh no, everything's good over there. Just... Look, kid. Frey. Don't take this personally, alright? You're off the Luxborn firm case. Starting today.
Well, I did not expect to hear that either. Probably because he wants to take it personally now. This must be some kind of cosmic joke. I allow some awkward seconds to pass. Chief must be pulling another one of his awful pranks. Out of his bad mood, or severe hangover, maybe. Everyone knows that when given the chance, he exercises no control at all with his drinking. If it wasn't for his wife causing a stir, he'd probably be trashed an hour in at the party. He likely drank more after they threw her out of the ballroom. Besides, his sense of humor has never been good. It's just infuriating most of the time. But when he doesn't even follow it up, I sound a tiny bit frustrated speaking to my own superior. I'm not the one to blame.
No. What? Are you kidding, Chief? Is this one of your practical jokes again? The Temps won't say anything about it, but I...
It's not that. They're orders. From the higher-ups.
Uh-oh. Ah, the higher-ups. Yes, my favorite phrase. Since when did the higher-ups ever cared about the Criminal Investigation Department did? What the Criminal Investigation Department did? As far as I could tell, they don't give a hoot if CID is filed with cold cases as long as we keep the spending low. When I need to view those old case files, though, they're locked away in the archives. You're going to have to check with the higher-ups. I need access to those reports. See if the higher-ups would allow it. Every step, every move in this case, there isn't One that hasn't been gated by some authority. If it's not the chief, it's the commissioner. Yeah, commissioner. 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 Or so they always tell me. Makes one wonder why they even bothered assigning it to anyone. Not a single one of them has done anything to help move the case. And they wonder why it's taken so long for even a hint of progress
You
to show.
can't just drop this on me. You can't just take me off like that.
Yes, I can. And I'm sorry, Ashton. You're a good detective. One of the best I've seen in years, but
3 years, Chief. 3 years.
3 years since that anonymous tech leak blew up. Since Luke Wright's name was openly linked to several of the nasty dealings within Luxburg's corporate world, some of them involving deaths. 3 years, and I was the only one who made it this far. Made much progress that officers with more experience weren't able to do when they handled the case. Just within a year, and with barely any help from the damn brass at that. Of course I'd
Do
be
you know
pissed.
what would have happened if I didn't work my ass off on this thing? If I didn't dedicate a whole year of my time on it, it would have gone cold, like every fucking case Luke Wright has been linked to. I saved this from getting thrown into the archives, sir. I'm getting close. If you could just...
I'm fully aware of what you've done, Frey. But the Commissioner hasn't been happy with your progress.
Ugh. When did we meet the commissioner?
Still too slow by their standards.
Really?
Too slow?
Well, to be honest, 3 years is a long time.
Well, what about those reports I filed? I've documented every freaking thing for them. I've given you every important lead I can gather. Isn't that enough?
They need results, not a bunch of research papers. Not one baseless assumption after another. Concrete proof, Frey. I'm really sorry. They've already made a decision. They're going to pass this on to someone who's been in the force longer. Someone who has more experience.
Someone who has more experience?
I meant nothing by it, but you're still too young to work on a case this big.
Chief, I've already done more than what those old farts ever did behind their desks. All of it, within just a year of being assigned to this.
Watch your language, Frey. Those are your superiors,
I'm not some damn rookie fresh out of training. I'm as qualified as they are.
Futile, I know it is. They'd never say it within my earshot, but from the very minute I stepped onto their precinct, a lot of them underestimated me. From their stares alone to the assignments I get. To them, I'm still just a kid. Too young, too green, too inexperienced. He's almost 30. Cut him some slack. He's older than I am. Does that make me a kid? I mean, I'm a kid at heart. I always will be. But this guy is older than I am. At the time of this recording. And once they pull that card on me, every argument I have gets thrown out the window. No matter how logical it is, how much I've accomplished, what the record says, or the amount of work I've put in every investigation they've thrown my way.
You're all aware of your skills, kid. You wouldn't have that badge and rank if you weren't good enough. However, this case is just not for you. Too high profile, too risky to put a good officer like you in harm's way.
Can he even hear himself? That reasoning is odd in itself. No one joins this line of work without knowing the
Don't I
dangers
get
of
a
it.
second chance? You said it yourself. I'm a good detective. It'll just be a matter of time before we can close this.
It doesn't matter what I think, Frey. You're off the case, and that's final. I expect all related files and documents on my desk by Monday morning. And don't even try to go touch anything. I know how hard-headed and determined you are.
Chief, please. A few more weeks. I'll have the proper evidence left on your desk by then. I swear it won't take longer than that.
Fred, it's too late, boy. I've already informed the other officers. You aren't to be allowed access until you've been given a new assignment. Hell, just keep out of the precinct, Frey. Take the weekend off.
Seriously, Chief, is this about last night?
On Halloween weekend, no less. That's like a busy weekend of the year for police. If there's anything that I've learned from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
If this is about me being at that party, I have a good reason for...
You were at the party.
It makes me pause. His wary tone, the sudden careful note in his voice. Slowly a frown forms on my face, my eyebrows knitting together in confusion. Much as I hate to say about my own boss, there's also suspicion in it. Hard not to think of it that way, seeing how he acted around Hana Wright last night. Is he worried? Why should he be? For one whose anyone was invited, I didn't doubt it for a second why he received an invite, even if his presence was questionable. There's something wrong with, and I've unintentionally walked into it. All I have is a sneaking suspicion, but when one looks at this from a different angle, put everything together, why the hell have I been taken off the case might be for the same reason he was there in the first place. Fuck.
Yes, Chief, I was. For a good reason. What were you doing there? I know we don't have a strict rule against attending functions, but that was...
He coughs and almost sounds like he's choking on his own excuses? Lies? I don't want to accuse him of anything yet. He's someone I've respected since I've joined the LPD, even with his bizarre sense of humor and tendency to be procrastinate. No, I genuinely think he's a good guy, considering he wanted to help whoever was crying in the wine cellar. Marianne, hopefully someone finds you. He's obviously competent enough to get the job done. He wouldn't be Chief Inspector of Luxburn Police if he wasn't. He wouldn't last years in service without some track record backing him. Unless that too is a fluke. What's backing him is not something, but someone. Oh. Oh shit. Fucking hell. Fucking
Chief
shit.
Harvey, about last night with the...
Why does it matter, Frey? This isn't about that.
Why does it matter? Why does it matter? I recite the whole damn oath I've taken up to being in sworn service if I can, but at this point, it seems too late to remind him of that. He is probably already moved from serving and protecting people to serving and protecting his own interests. Damn it. I've suspected the upper brass of this. Even the lower-ranked subordinates of the force. My own boss? No, shit, no wonder that leak didn't lead anywhere. Someone closer might have been pulling the strings. I might have been set up to fail long before the fucking case had been assigned to me. But I don't want to give up. Not yet. I don't want to believe I've wasted an entire year for this. I don't want this to be the kind of news to tell Professor Clark after all those promises I've given the man.
I just want to know, sir, at the party, with Luke and Hana Wright, you were...
Monday, Detective Inspector. First thing in the morning. Every copy of the files you have, I want to see it all on my table, understood?
This isn't...
Frey, am I understood?
What else can I do other than smile and nod? With my own superior expecting an answer, using that tone, brushing off my questions, is easy as discarding his dead body.
Yes, sir.
He cuts the line as soon as those words are out. You're off the case, Frey. Just like that. Funny. Why this still caught me off guard. I've discovered years ago how different the actual thing is. Far from reality. Everything I've believed in this dreamy-eyed kid. There are no high-speed pursuits every day, no thrilling gunfights, or exciting cases. Every step of the way. Only paperwork, lots of red tape, and dealing with politics and bureaucracy. I've set out to change things, hoping it'll make things better for the people I care about. It ended up changing me instead. Served me right for being too idealistic, I guess. This is probably the universe telling me that it's better to remain a skeptic. Now here I am, standing useless. Can't even do anything but grit my teeth and kick the wall. Bastard didn't even acknowledge my response.
What did the poor wall ever do to you?
Figures Rebecca would be the one to find me in this embarrassing state. Let's check the journal. Ashton Frey received a phone call from the chief of Luxburn first thing in the morning, informing him that he has been taken off the Luxburn firm case. Although his protests fell on deaf ears, this sudden turn of events has proved a hunch. Yep. Oh, I just realized the fact that he's following some firm case means that he actually isn't following the serial killer case at all. Fuck, this character's worthless. Honestly, I don't like it when she sees me like this, which seems to happen a lot, regardless of what I want.
Rebecca, now's not a good time.
The concern I expect from her when I turn isn't there, however. Instead, she just looks, well... The storm I left brewing last night, it's right there on her face, ready to be unleashed.
When is it ever a good time for you? You're always so busy with everything now.
Actually, he's not busy anymore. In fact, he has... today and tomorrow off.
Now I find you here, sneaking out without even bothering with a proper goodbye. Not even a word. Really, I'm starting to think you're just keeping me around for my couch and my cooking.
Becca, it's not what you're thinking. I wasn't planning on sneaking out. I was going to say goodbye. I just had to take this call. Although, I'm not gonna lie, couch is great. 10 out of 10. Would sleep again.
I knew I liked this guy.
Stop it with the jokes, Ashton. I'm not in the mood.
Her bitterness is not lost on me, but at this point, our friendship in our lives, how does she still expect me to answer that? What am I supposed to tell her now? I think I just got fired.
Are you still mad about last night?
She merely raises an eyebrow at me, which, to be honest, is all the response I need. Seeing her like this makes me believe those things Z-Man says, the part where Rebecca scares him sometimes. I've certainly seen this more than once already. But the familiarity of it doesn't really take away from the downhill turn this conversation's starting to take. I forgot that Hana called Rebecca Gales today. So we gotta get to tomorrow. Tomorrow is when the big shit happens. Although, we've been going for 3 hours, so we're gonna finish this conversation and then we'll end the stream there. Only an awkward cough serves as a way to stall.
Okay, of course you're still mad. But whatever happened last night, I really am sorry. I'll apologize as many times as you want. If you want, I'd even kneel or something.
Don't do that. She'll blush.
Ashton, an apology is nice and all, but that's not what I wanted to hear from you today.
Alright, fine, okay. Where do you want to start?
Oh, I don't know. I've honestly lost track of it by your third trip to the buffet table.
I wasn't... The drive up there took a bit. Can you blame me if I wanted to grab some appetizers?
Oh, come on, Ash! For the whole evening? For the whole party? Please don't tell me that's all you did, because I've never known you as someone who pigs out.
Yeah, I mean, the staff was starting to look at you funny.
You even took great lengths to avoid me. Should I also mention how you ignored Zach? Sometimes I get the feeling you don't want to be seen with us in public. Some friendship, huh?
That was more of a thing for your safety, and I think he can share that now that he's off the case.
You know it's not like that. It's never going to be like that, Becca.
I'll ask this again. Just what were you up to during the party? What were you doing that you couldn't even take 2 seconds to make time for your friends?
Is it not gonna give me the option to tell her? I couldn't even look her in the eye. It wasn't that I wanted to avoid them. I did it to keep Zach safe and to keep Rebecca safe. Just in case. Client or family friend, it was still a party hosted by a person of interest by a man accused years ago of murdering a person's wife to get what he wanted. Oh wow, that's more details than I expected us to get. Finally, we're getting the juicy bits. Then the chief showed up. Anna Wright happened. Luke Wright just happened to be... And Luke Wright just can't be bothered to die peacefully somewhere. All of a sudden, none of my original reasons mattered. If I was found out right then and there, hell, if Zach and Rebecca's connection with me was found out, who knows what might have happened. But Rebecca doesn't understand that. Doesn't understand what I can and can't say to keep them from harm. It's all in her eyes. Tight line on her lips, and her furrowed brows. The hurt. The pain. This day is just off to a wonderful start. Oh boy, I can hear people rousing in the next room. I think people will be drinking. Alright. First my case, now Becca. Stretch the truth? Oh boy. I'm gonna lower my mic's sensitivity for a bit. 2.2 decibels should be enough to eke out some of that background noise. Insist it's confidential.
Rebecca.
I wonder how many times I've told her that. And not just her. My dad, my mom, Zach, even Isabella. How many times have I told them that I essentially boiled down to mind your own business, make sure they'd all be safe, keep them out of danger. Wow, that made it go up. Huh. My job isn't a game. It isn't as glamorous as the television portrays it to be. I had thought so too as a child. I was so clueless back then, wasn't I? But boy, did I learn. The good guys don't always win. Justice isn't always served. Investigation is not looking at a crime scene once to get a eureka moment, but sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. It's sleepless nights at the crime lab with the tech guys. It's a lot of paperwork. Actually, if you've ever seen the movie Hot Fuzz, it is a ton of paperwork. Several days wearing the same clothes with Chinese takeout stains because I'm staking out a place. It's the frustration when the bureaucracy hinders you from looking into a case any further, or when you know the suspect is guilty but they get away scot-free on technicality. It's seeing the anger and pain and despair with every case.
I know you have a mountain of questions, but I've told you this so many times before. I can't say much more than that.
Still, the look on Rebecca's face, the resentment and the pain. It hurts me. To think that I am the cause of that. It's a familiar one, too, coming. You could at least tell her that you were there on a case, and you could do the superhero thing of saying, if I mingled with you, it would put you at risk. How hard is that to say? It hurts me as well, to think that I am the cause of that. Wondering how long it'll take before Zach starts giving me the same look. Or until I've hurt Isabella in a way that a sincere apology won't ever be enough. What a mess. I'm a mess. The people close to me who have to suffer for it.
I guess, if that's the case, there's nothing much I can do about it.
Wow, she took that really well.
You're off being what? A hero, I guess? And I shouldn't rag on you for that.
I could never get used to how quick she just forgives me for whatever shitty thing I do. Zach and Isabella, too. They've all been patient with me, unlike I am with them. I don't deserve any of them. For the kind of person I turned out to be.
I'm hardly a hero, Becca. I'm just Ash.
Oof. That's a good double entendre there. I expect a retort, another one laced with bitterness. Instead, she laughs. Half-hearted, with barely a hint of cheer in it. It's a laugh nonetheless. I honestly don't know what to make of that. What to do with myself upon hearing it. It's almost like the mere sound of it is meant to pierce.
The least you could have done is tell me. Maybe I could have helped. Kept an ear and an eye out for you. I don't know. I could have been Irene Adler, maybe?
Okay, that warrants a Google. Come on. Come on, Google. Let's see. Irene Adler. That name sounds familiar. Oh, it's... Irene Norton, née Adler, is a fictional character in the Sherlock Holmes stories, written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. She was featured in the short story A Scandal in Bohemia, published in July 1891. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes, but the mask she tries hard for me. Give her a smile of my own. Give her a hug, man. She needs it. Why am I so quick to give hugs? Because I'm a very soft and caring person. I give her a smile of my own, though, and imagine it comes off as as enthusiastic as hers. It's far easier to slip back into the barrier when it's like this, just to brush off everything, at least. At least this way, wouldn't have to deal with awful things.
The woman? Don't flatter yourself. Nancy Blue, more like.
Okay. I'm assuming that's another character from a different book.
Her sidekick would beg to differ, Ashit.
Oh, I think they were making a Nancy Drew joke. Okay. And I couldn't stop a wry grin forming in my lips. She probably still has the photo from that contest that she keeps in her old diary. Never did find either of the two after I threatened to burn them. In the end, I just never brought it up again, hoping she'd forget about the whole thing. But the small smile on her face says a lot. Those were good times, a lot simpler, a lot more peaceful. Now things have changed. I just realized that entire sentence would have made no sense in context if we didn't kill off Becca. Now things have changed. We're no longer the same people we were as kids. Growing up together doesn't mean it always has to be just the two of us. It's a dumb notion we believe in. When nothing ever remains constant, things will inevitably change throughout the years. In fact, it already has, long ago, not just with the people I allowed into our respective lives, but also with us, as people, as friends. It really does get complicated as we get older, doesn't it? Not everything has to be, though. Even if it is in the form of a promise. I have no idea when I'll be able to fulfill.
I swear, I'll explain when it's all over.
It is all over. You can explain now. The silence afterwards brings an even heavier air between us. Something that Rebecca, thankfully, doesn't allow to linger more than necessary.
I suppose you have to go now, huh?
No, he doesn't. He has the weekend off. The situation's already awkward as is. Dragging this out will only make it more, difficult? Messed up? As if it isn't already.
Back to your case again?
I don't really have to. I have no case. As far as the job is concerned, I have the weekend off until I report to the chief on Monday. Although I don't want to throw in the towel on this. Orders are orders. This isn't like the movies. I don't get to say fuck off. Throw my gun and badge at him, become a vigilante, save the day, and get my job back. Rather get my ass thrown in jail and do any of that. I guess he's not one of those kind of people, huh? But it's also not in my nature to sit still and do nothing. It'll drive me crazy if I just idle about. Besides, there's someone who knows about this whole Luke Wright thing.
I need to go talk to Professor Clark. And there's something else I need to look into.
The other matter she mentioned last night specifically. Things even the news have been blasting out about the general populace lately. Evening, afternoon, morning, all deaths with the same modus blamed on a single serial killer. Or is this still the case?
In the early hours of the morning today, The fire was contained within the room and no other tenants were harmed, according to Luxborn police.
Oh, this is the one that we heard about. We're grasping at straws as far as these murders are concerned. In the first place, I'm not even the one heading this investigation. Yet look at me treating it as if it's another high-profile case on my shoulder. How sad is that? Although the three of my friends have mentioned seeing something strange, I don't want to go into that line of thinking for now. Not yet. Not until I've exhausted every logical argument I can throw at it. To be honest, though, I don't know how to take all this anymore. I think they're linked. But I've already given Isabella my word. It'd bother me more if I didn't follow up on a promise I made to her. And after Rebecca's claims last night, there won't be enough sarcasm in the world if what my friends have been telling me is true. I can already hear Isabella's laughter, in fact.
Figures. What else can it be?
It's not another case. It's something else. That issue Isabella mentioned yesterday morning. I'm sure you remember. You were there.
Well, at least you're not neglecting all your friends.
Ooh, somebody jealous.
Becca, I promised her I'll...
She doesn't wait for me to finish. With the roll of her eyes, she turns around and shuts the door in my face. Yep. No idea what I said this time, but...
I probably deserve that.
Yeah, you do. You just have to fix that some other time. By then, temper's sure to have cooled off significantly. Hopefully. And that's will be where we leave this off. Rebecca confronted Ashton about what happened at the party the night before. Unable to tell her any details, the latter simply admitted it was confidential. Although Rebecca accepted this, her displeasure remained evident on her face. Alrighty. On that note, we're going to end here. Been going for 3 hours, it's late. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Even though 2020 is a thing that's happening.